Aaron was married for 9 years to an indifferent duke, and his mistress constantly made Aaron look like a villain. They divorced, and now Aaron has decided to fulfill her dream of opening a pastry shop cafe. Reputation because of the divorce and false accusations is ruined. Everyone turned away from Aaron. But suddenly in her life appears the younger brother of her ex-husband, who secretly loved her all these 9 years a couple of days before that. The Duke looked at his wife with complete contempt and threw the papers on the table. These were the divorce papers. The girl read a brief description of the last years of her life on a single sheet of paper. By mutual agreement of both parties, Raymond von Levensburg and Aaron de Brescia divorced. The most noble lady in the empire, Aaron von Levensburg. She came from a once noble family and became a duchess. According to most of the nobles, Aaron is mocking the poor beloved of the Duke, although she herself had affairs on the side, hiding behind the mask of a faithful wife, so she got the glue of my villain. This is the story of the famous villain and her return to life under her former name, Aaron de Brescia. Youth and she dreamed of living like a fairy tale with a happy ending, in which the unfortunate lady marries the prince and they live happily ever afters. When she came of age, a message came from the imperial palace. The emperor wished the young lady Brescia to become the bride of the Duke of Levensburg, and then she thought her dream had come true. Duke of Levensburg, son of the deceased crown prince and first grandson of the emperor. He is a capable and educated, beautiful swordsman with impeccable appearance, a good person in everything, and the heir to the throne. The Marquis and his entire family could not understand the reason why the emperor chose Aaron's children. The family is not good enough for this. But at the moment, there was no lady or noble family of the right age in the empire to become the Duke's bride. The Marquis of Brescia was once the most noble family in the empire, but after the decline, the parents took on debt and are now unable to attend social events. As it turns out, the emperor promised financial support to the Marquis for the conquered. Aaron believed the messenger's words and agreed. She was convinced that a happy marriage awaited her. If the marriage works well, then her family will be in the black and her parents will finally be able to live normally. Aaron prepared for this wedding very carefully and everything went very well. The Duke seemed like a very nice and kind person to talk to, who would definitely respect his wife. Then she managed to fall in love with him. But not a day passed before all of Aaron's hopes and dreams were dashed. On the first night, the Duke said that he was not going to sleep with Aaron as her husband. Because this engagement was just a formality, she herself should understand this. That's how Hertz left her alone with her thoughts and never returned. So it turned out that the Duke had a mistress of a lower noble family since his teenage years. In high society, it was no secret that he promised to make his beloved an empress. When this reached the emperor, he immediately arranged Aaron's engagement and she agreed, but learned the truth too late. In the following years, she did not experience jealousy and did not touch her husband's mistress. She was not wasteful or arrogant. As a duchess, Aaron tried to avoid things that could tarnish her honor, always behaved with dignity, never did harm to anyone, and wore modest dresses so as not to be extravagant. However, wanting a divorce, the Duke accused her of infidelity. Aaron had done nothing wrong, but in the eyes of the public, she suddenly became a real villain. Even if she had been the first to express a desire for a divorce, she would not have been able to say anything since the engagement was the will of the emperor. Now the Duke expected Aaron to cry and beg the emperor not to get a divorce, but he didn't care about her suffering. However, things didn't go as he expected. Aaron calmly signed the divorce papers. Aaron told him that if he wanted to marry his mistress, he would have to renovate the palace because she had already sold everything that could be sold and now her room was empty. Aaron did this because she knew that the mistress would either throw out or replace the furniture when she arrived at the palace. So this morning, Aaron did it herself. Why was the Duke so surprised? He himself said that she could do with things as she saw fit. So she did so because they had made a deal. Aaron hoped that the Duke would at least return her dowry. She didn't ask for any alimony or payments just to collect her dowry. The Duke, who hadn't cared what she did for years, suddenly asked what she was going to do with this trifle. It was very funny. What he calls a small thing for Aaron's family is a fortune. Aaron lost everything, but she still had one last dream, which she buried deep in her heart. Aaron smiled confidently and replied, "I'll open a cafe." Finally, she can make this dream come true. When she thinks about it, she begins to feel a pleasant, sweet aroma. Her dream was born when she was very little, and together with her mother, she prepared round, ruddy, rich profiteroles. It was very delicious, and my mother told me a secret. The Brescia family always has a stronger sense of taste than the imperial family. And Aaron too. So someday she will be able to bake such magnificent cakes. And the girl decided that when the unscrewing grows and fills the counter with delicious sweets. After the divorce, Erin went into her empty room for the last time. She will never return here. She still couldn't call this place her home after all these years. There was a maid Melly nearby, and she was crying very hard. All these years, probably, Erin served. That's why she was so upset about this divorce and asked the lady to take her with her. Melly was very keen to continue being Erin's maid even in another house. Erin, of course, I would like this myself, but there was one problem. A couple of years ago, coffee began to be shipped from southern ports throughout the country, and soon coffee became the most popular drink in the former world. Regular tea was prepared by the maids and coffee by the servants. Melly was responsible for serving drinks. Besides, she was the only friend in this estate, and it would be very good to hire her again. But Erin had no money at all. Her money would only be enough to open a coffee shop. How then would she pay the maid's salary? Suddenly, the head maid Mrs. Brannan entered the room without even knocking. She told Erin to get ready quickly so that the servants could clean the room. Mrs. Brannan had always been hostile to the Duchess, despising her and even insulting her in front of others. This woman was always on the side of the Count. She introduced him to a new serial lover so that the Brennan family would gain more influence in society through the Duke. Erin has suffered enough over the years, all for her parents, but now she can finally put an end to this bullying. Father was very offended by the neglect that Erin and I experienced in this estate, and he volunteered to participate in the war to bring glory and respect to his daughter in the Empire. He brought victory to the Empire, died in the war with his nose, and his mother died sometime later from a serious illness. Mom was very sorry that her daughter was suffering because of all this, but she couldn't do anything. When Mom died and Erin stood at the graves of both parents, she cried bitterly. And then she confidently decided that she refused to continue this miserable existence. Miss Brennan came in to hurry Erin to leave, but apparently she was so stupid that she didn't notice that there were no things left, and Erin had already packed everything. After such humiliation, the main thing is that the maid decided to get angry at the maid Melly, who shouldn't be here. Melly said she just came to say goodbye to Lady Erin, but the main thing is that the maid didn't believe her and hit her. She did all this in Erin's presence because she thought she was now powerless there because she had divorced the Duke. But she is wrong. Erin told her not to pack her things and leave the estate. Erin fired Mrs. Brannan. The maid just laughed at it because Erin was no longer a duchess. But she completely forgot about the seal that still belongs to Erin. It is the seal of the Empress. The Emperor has an imperial seal with which he approves important state documents, and the affairs of the imperial palace are conducted with the help of the seal and the Empress. Well, the Empress died long ago, and Raymond's mother, the crown princess, also died in childbirth. The Empress's seal could not lie idle. So at the moment, the most influential woman in the imperial palace is Erin. One might think that this seal was given only with the title of Duchess, but the seal of the Empress, the Emperor believed in Erin personally, and it does not depend on her body. He ordered her to run the affairs of the imperial palace so Erin can still give orders and dismiss servants. Brennan said that anyway, when the new Duchess takes over, she will definitely return her to this position. But until that time she is still fired, she will have to wait for about a month. While the Emperor went new, well, the Duke immediately rushed to formalize the divorce. This is a long process, so the Duke will not be able to immediately marry another woman. And even if Mrs. Brannan returns to her position, this will not be soon. It will take the Duke a very long time to get the Emperor's consent to the rite and then arrange the wedding. So the maid will not return to this position for a long time. She will be out of work for several more years. And the woman tried to correct the situation, but she was too disrespectful. Erin is now the Marchioness de Brescia, and Brennan is just a knight's wife and has no right to communicate like that. Then she realized that she couldn't do anything against Erin and decided to attack her maid. She said that she would deal with her when she returned to work, but Erin laughed at her here too, because she decided to take Melly with her. She promised that they would open a pastry shop and would pay Melly twice as much as pastry chefs get, but the work would be harder than here. Melly happily agreed, but she didn't know yet that Erin couldn't afford to pay a decent salary yet. But it would be better to get her out of here as soon as possible and then sort it out. Erin finally happily left this terrible place. Even if they ask her, she will never return here. Erin thought that by losing her title, she would lose everything in this life. She clung to this state, this name, and thought that this was the only thing she had left. But as she put the final touches to her signature on the divorce papers and put down her pen, Erin felt free. Duke thought Erin was crazy about the divorce. RS decided to open a café pastry shop. Yes, he himself understands that he did not treat her very well, but if the Emperor had not forced another woman on him as a wife, he would not have treated Erin in this way. After years of marriage, not a single quarrel, not a single complaint. And Erin became completely different from how she was when we first met. The emperor quickly found out about everything and sent a letter to his duke. He didn't even read it. He was sure that it said that he should cancel the divorce and return Erin. Along with the letter, he was also brought a small dessert from his beloved Serena. But for some reason, even seeing this, he didn't smile and ordered to get rid of it. Erin and Melly, with all their belongings, first went to a realtor to find a place to live. They need a house with living rooms and a restaurant for 2 girls in a room on the first floor, and housing on the second, and everything as cheaply as possible. Very fortunately, there was just one such house which even from the outside looked good. There were a lot of shops around. It was quiet and calm. It was an ideal place for a women's enterprise. Mainly petty officials and rich merchants live on this street Beltro. The owner of this cafe is in a hurry to move to the province, so they are selling the cafe at a low price. So even the furniture is included in the purchase. Behind the first building, there is a backyard with a garden and a small, beautiful house. Even the garden here is very beautiful. In that house on the ground floor, there is a living room, dining room, and kitchen in the cafe. There is no place to cook, but you can cook in this house, which is just a couple of meters from the cafe. The best place for a cafe is the lower parts of the city, but the rent is more expensive there, so Erin quickly bought this building. Soon she started cleaning. After all, she's no longer a duchess, and it will not harm her reputation. Melly went grocery shopping, and for lunch, Erin decided to cook something herself. There were lemons growing in the garden, and Erin immediately came up with a good idea. Easy and quick, it made sweet lemon meringue pie. Melly finished cleaning in the meantime and then came to lunch. She was simply delighted with this delicate melting cream and refreshing spicy lemon flavor. It was the best pie she had ever tasted in her life, probably the kind they serve on the imperial table. Erin learned to cook from her mother, and although Ta did not really like lemons and said that this fruit is a symbol of suffering and troubles, Erin really liked this lemon for meringue pie, so her mother often cooked it. Lemon is a symbol of suffering because it is too sour, but when it's added to a cake, it becomes sweet and pleasant. So lemon pie is a symbol of overcoming adversity. So Mom said so for Erin, it's the perfect dessert right now. In fact, she secretly prepared it when she lived in the imperial palace and shared it with only one person once. That was the first time she met that boy and didn't even have time to say goodbye. I wonder how he's doing now. Meanwhile, in the imperial palace, the head maid complained that she had been working in this castle for years, and the former duchess took and fired her. So she only hoped that when the people of Syria became the duchess, they would return her to her position. Serena von Brennan, the duke's mistress, learned that the empress's palace would belong to her alone, but she still acted as if she didn't even dream of such a thing. Serena learned that Erin is going to open a cafe and has already found a place and even ordered ingredients. Maybe she should intervene in this? The Duke's reputation will be ruined if he finds out that his exiled ex-wife opened a cafe and achieved success. Serena has an idea. She doesn't know much about the restaurant business, but they know that coffee is a must for a cafe, so it won't be easy for Erin to get it. In the Imperial Palace, the walls have ears, and now that the Duchess has been banished, everyone is talking about the Siren, soon to become the new Duchess. But it is unlikely that the Emperor will allow this. Siren's father is just a minor aristocrat who bought his title with money. Siren knows that she is despised even after her father received the title of Duke. She tried to attract the attention of Duke Raymond, because what she needed most was the attention of a man who could one day make her an empress. She wants to get it so that her power will be unlimited. So she, acting as if she was truly in love with the Duke. Now she surrounded him with care and suggested going to the ball together. The Duke had not yet had time to agree because his brother suddenly arrived. Calix, who was supposed to be with the Emperor, suddenly appeared here. He said that he was tired of being with his grandfather because he was always in a bad mood and very difficult to be with. Calix can't even have fun there, so he decided to visit his brother for a while. Serena wasn't very happy that Archduke Ruthen had returned. Archduke Calix Ruthen is Raymond's only younger brother and next in line to the throne. The Grand Ducal family of Ruthen were distant relatives of the emperors, but enjoyed the status of members of the imperial family. The late Grand, father of Calix, died, saves his dear prince. In memory of him, the heir apparent became his only son Calix. Serena began to greet the Archduke, but he didn't even pay attention to her and interrupted her by asking how his wife Raymond was doing. Serena knew she did it on purpose and just kept quiet. Calix said that at least to see Erin, it's strange that she's not here, and Grandpa was also worried and kept asking, Raymond said that if Grandpa was so curious, let him come and Aaron himself. And then he told Serena that he was busy today and couldn't go to the ball. Raymond left. Calix looked at him with a smile. I wonder where his brother put his wife. Aaron, meanwhile, was accepting food deliveries and preparing various sweets. Here, for example, is a shamefully pink macaron with strawberry flavor, a pleasant beige macaron with vanilla flavor, and light aromatic lilac macarons with blueberries and mint green with pistachios. In fact, it is very difficult to cook them. But despite the fact that she had done it very rarely before, now everything worked out the first time. Aaron went to Melly to treat her, and the maid was already making coffee. Sweet macarons with freshly brewed coffee. What could be more perfect? Melly's coffee is always the best, and Aaron's sweets are just fantastic. These two girls seem to be made for a joint business, but they haven't opened their own cafe yet. They have a display case where you can display fakes made of mastic and sugar so that everyone can see them because real desserts spoil quickly. There are still a few more purchases to make. The last coffee beans ran out today and new ones should be arriving soon. Gold coins for 1 box of coffee. This is an expensive pleasure for Viscount Arndt. He has a monopoly on coffee sales, so you can only buy it from him. It's expensive, of course, but the coffee is only delivered once every few months and you have to buy it while it lasts. And it will last for a long time. However, when Aaron opened the box, she was shocked. The grains were crooked and falling apart in her hands, and the smell was terrible. The girls asked the supplier why the coffee was in such a bad condition because the price was for a quality product and this is no good. However, this man was only responsible for delivery, and there is no return. Besides, the next coffee delivery will not be for another month. While Melly was arguing with the man and sorting things out, Aaron already knew what had happened. Viscount always had grain, but it felt like they deliberately sorted out the bad grain and sent it to certain addresses, and left the good ones for other, more important buyers. Without coffee, you can't open a cafe. Aaron wasn't going to accept this spoiled product, and she asked the couriers to deliver these boxes to another specified address for an additional fee. The Gossier estate was a place of entertainment for the aristocracy where they played cards. Aaron, dressed appropriately, arrived there on a dark evening and was immediately led inside. She heard that they play for money here, and also that everything here is very rich. Aaron said she was looking for Viscount Arndt and was immediately told where he was. The Arndt family trades with the South and has a monopoly on the sale of coffee and fruits and some other exotic goods. But coffee brought them the greatest income due to the fabulous wealth of the family. Jacques Arndt spent his time in the endless Kuta and in the arteries and other entertainment establishments. Aaron came to the second hall where Jacques was supposed to be. As expected, he was there drinking alcohol. As soon as he saw the Duchess enter, he immediately stood up, and then he remembered that she was no longer a duchess and relaxed. Now she is just a marquise, and it would seem I have nothing to talk about. But Aaron came on important business regarding the goods that were delivered by his company. Jacques mockingly asked what was wrong with the goods he wanted. He knew everything perfectly well. Even if Aaron doesn't like something, she won't be able to do anything because the Duke kicked her out in disgrace. Aaron actually sent this beautiful product as a gift to the Imperial Palace. Upon learning of this, Jacques immediately jumped up and even broke a glass from shock. She ordered this coffee for her cafe, but ended up sending it to the Imperial Palace. Obviously, this reaction was because he knew that the product was spoiled. Aaron paid a lot for it, and she even has documents proving the payment. Jacques was sure that she was just a doll in the head, but now she was trying to outplay him. Jacques said that even if his high-ranking official gets such coffee and expresses dissatisfaction, he can blame everything on his subordinates and just get married, then he will be forgiven. Of course, he can pay Aaron compensation, but it will be her last purchase from me. She will be considered a bad customer. He easily threatens people using his position, and to some extent he is even right. His Highness will forgive such a mistake. However, Jacques did not think about other merchants if they find out that Jacques Arndt, owning a coffee market without a separate one, sells garbage at the same time. Merchants will obviously appear who will want to push him aside. Jacques somehow didn't think about this. Besides, he's not used to hearing complaints about quality, and now I don't even know what to answer. Before, even Aaron wouldn't have dared to say anything to him and forced herself to laugh. But that's in the past now. Aaron said she'd keep the incident a secret if he sent her a normal product. Then she'd send a letter to the Imperial Palace asking for the missing coffee to be returned. Jacques agreed to this easily and said that the blood ice coffee was of high quality on gold coins. But did he really think that everything would be so simple? Aaron made him send her coffee worth gold coins to compensate for the damage and penalties. Of course, he didn't want to give her twice as much, but if he doesn't do it, then Aaron, I will do it the way I intended. And he agreed to this and everything, as the Marchioness said. After all, he is not stupid and he has foresight. Aaron happily left this place. Everything turned out the way she wanted. She is just a fox and was very proud of herself. Now she was going to leave this estate and return to Melly to please her too. But before she could get out, someone grabbed my hand. It was some unknown drunk aristocrat who liked Aaron's face and thought she was a prostitute. He tried to buy her. Although Aaron told him to take his hands off, he didn't listen. So she decided to use force and kicked him so hard that he fell. However, even he did not stop. Aaron was about to reveal her identity to get rid of the man. But suddenly it opened and somehow the Duke was there. He just came out of his hall to find out what all the fuss was about. Aaron knew she'd run into her ex-husband somewhere, but this was probably one of the best places for a chance meeting. Aaron greeted His Highness properly. And then the Duke told the first man to apologize to the lady for his rude words. It is obviously scary to behave like that in front of the future emperor, so he obediently apologized to milady. The Duke looked at Aaron with a sneer. He hadn't expected to see her here, just like she didn't know about his hobby before. I wonder if Serena knows about it. Raymond decided to change the subject of the conversation. He thought that if his ex-wife goes to such places, then she doesn't have enough money. He could simply pay alimony if she asked. Aaron said she didn't come here for the money, but to sort out a problem with the coffee. Then I asked her if she really wanted to run the cafe. He was sure that she was offended because of Serena, and was now trying to come up with something to spite her. Aaron didn't even understand what that meant at first. He said she started this business because of Serena. Aaron felt disgusted with this man. The Duke doesn't understand that not everything in this world revolves around him. Before, whenever Aaron and Serena encountered something, Serena would always get hurt and act like a victim. Aaron didn't even understand how it all happened because she didn't do anything. But people believed only Serena and were sure that Aaron was just jealous. Any explanations were useless. Even the Duke believed the maids more than his wife. There was no place for Aaron in his heart from the very beginning, and it was really offensive. Fortunately now, she is not connected with the Duke in any way. Serena has nothing to do with it. Aaron just wants to fulfill her long-time dream. She had nothing more to say to this Vera herself. She really just wanted the happiness of living wherever she wanted with the one she loved, but it was useless to explain this to the Duke, because he would never understand. Even now, he couldn't believe what she was saying. Aaron decided not to continue the conversation and just leave, but he stopped her. Raymond said that he didn't want her to act even though they weren't in a relationship. They had been married for years, and if she said anything, he would give her money so she could live in comfort, and he was ready to help her with more than just that. Aaron would have melted like a fool with such care years ago, but now there is no room in her heart for him. She doesn't need money from him and would like to never see him again. The only thing she asked was that he not try to interfere with her business. Raymond still couldn't understand what happened to Aaron, but he had other things to do. In fact, he came here and delivered the weapons himself within a month. Aaron finally returned to her cafe, albeit for a while. She was very tired today, but she was still happy because she managed to agree on coffee, and only she went into the cafe to tell Melly about it. When I saw someone else here, it turned out it was a visitor. When this visitor turned around, Aaron immediately recognized him as Ainz. He went south on the Emperor's orders but returned immediately as if war had finally been declared and learned what had happened to Aaron. If she had told him the truth back then, he would have stayed here and wouldn't have had to go through all this. Aaron smiled because she knew he could really take care of her. Ainz von Lefnen is the leader of the Order of the Sacred Ball, and he is Aaron's closest childhood friend. They were really good friends as children, and one day Ainz even made a cake for Aaron. They were kids, so it was all very cute. Ainz promised that he would make a cake for every birthday of Aaron. But he was not destined to fulfill this promise because he had to leave to study at a military academy. He really wanted to become a knight. So this was the only way, but he promised that he would write letters to Aaron. When he turned, Ainz, who wanted to become a knight, was finally able to fulfill his dream, and Aaron moved to the Marquise's estate. And from that moment on, they could no longer see each other. Years later, Aaron was already married. She rarely attended any events and still could not get used to this estate. One day, she heard January not discussing the new leader of the Order of the Holy Sword. Young ladies were lining up just to talk to him. Aaron, although I heard this, I somehow didn't even think about who we were talking about. But it all turned out to be about her best friend Ainz. He came back into her life as a war hero. Aaron highly praised her friend for becoming the leader. The friend said that it was not difficult because the higher rank simply found him suitable for this position. But Aaron knew that at court such a position was impossible to obtain without connections and pedigree. A good childhood friend and the son of a simple knight, this position must have cost him a lot of effort. When they discussed everything about Einsvi, he finally asked, and Aaron knew that she had problems. She thought he was talking about the Duke having an affair with Serena, but Eins was worried about his aunt, who was so sick and died, and he couldn't go to her funeral. He was very sorry that he could not be with his aunt at the last moment of her life and did not even come to the funeral. Aaron was alone in these difficult moments. It was very unusual for her to hear not dirty gossip about her life and the Duchess. And the question of care. Aaron was so happy that she had such a good friend. She thought that there would never be another person in her life who cared about her. His lilac eyes shining with kindness took her back to her childhood, and bright nostalgia warmed her soul. Since then, she saw her friend from time to time and could talk to him about things she could not reveal to anyone else. They met in public openly, and no one could suspect anything. But Aaron still had to be very careful because rumors could harm both of them. Because Ains would not have a girlfriend because of frequent meetings with his girlfriend. Aaron naively assumed that caution would keep her safe. But something terrible happened. Ains was lying in blood somewhere in the bushes. And the blood had some kind of unnatural, terrible smell. Aaron took off his shirt and saw that her friend had been poisoned by Lucifer's venom. And I am from Lucifer. This terrifying, disgusting monster. If you do not apply the antidote in time, the whole body will very quickly be eaten by gangrene. Now she understood why. Before this, he didn't look very well and attributed it all to a cold. Fatigue, in fact, did not greet him from this poison, but he remained silent. Aaron had to help him somehow when she heard that some ladies were coming to look at the lake. Aaron had to drag Ains even further into the bushes to hide him. Despite the fact that this poison is not contagious, it is dangerous. And if the infected person dies, a new monster will emerge. And if the presence of this poison is discovered, he will be killed immediately, and no one will distinguish him out of fear. Ains was scared, and the fact that his girlfriend saw what he tried so hard to hide. Aaron immediately reassured him that she wasn't going to tell this secret to anyone. Ains asked her not to stay so close and to return to the palace. But she couldn't leave him alone, and then the lady heard some rustling in the bushes and decided to see what was going on. In the end, not even a minute passed before the whole society found out about all this. And of course, thanks to Serena. The Duchess's midnight gardens. The knights who hide in the bushes. Everyone knows that the Duke does not love his wife. Eins is also very handsome and popular with women. And they are also childhood friends for lovers. Let's discuss others. It was a real holiday. The Duchess even had to explain herself to the Emperor. But she couldn't say that Eins had gotten sick because that would raise unnecessary questions. Aaron only said that she had done nothing to implicate her honor or infidelity to her husband. The Emperor did not scold the Duchess in any way. He simply decided to get rid of Eins. He sent the leader of the Sacred Sword to the south to war. And immediately after that, the Duke took advantage of the opportunity and accused Aaron of cheating and filed for divorce. Now that she thinks about it, she is plagued by doubts. There are too many coincidences. You might even think that it was all planned. Eins himself does not remember how he ended up in those bushes. He did not have an exacerbation or feel unwell. But after he drank that evening, all this happened. If someone deliberately got Eins drunk and went to great lengths to create such a situation, whoever did it, their goal was to harm Aaron's reputation. Whoever did this probably doesn't even know that Eins was poisoned. Not by Lucifer's poison, but could have gotten sick and opened up early because of the aphrodisiac added to the alcohol. Ains came back and he really wanted to tell the truth about the Duke, that there was no betrayal. Aaron was just trying to help. But she said that there was no need to do anything anymore, and this case was the perfect excuse for the Duke. He wanted to get a divorce anyway. Even if Eins tells the whole truth, there is still no way back to the castle, and he will only suffer from this, but Eins just wants to defend the honor of his girlfriend in front of everyone. But Aaron believed him that now everything was fine with her. Here was her new house and the cafe she had been dreaming about, and she felt relieved since she broke up. So my friend calmed down a bit and was happy. By the way, he heals early because they sent him the antidote, the Northern Sun, and it works. Aaron was happy, and you hear she would not have survived the death of her only remaining loved one. If he still really wants to tell the truth, then let him do it, at least when he is cured, so that he is not killed because of the poison. Aaron decided to cook something special for her friend, or they haven't seen each other for a long time. She went to the garden where she had already managed to make a small vegetable garden and collect vegetables and fruits there. Ains went after her to help, and then they remembered how they made each other cakes for their 9th birthdays. It's impossible to forget. Erin made this for her friend's birthday only when she found out he'd never had a cake for that occasion. She made this cake herself just for him, and he was the happiest man then. It's not even about the taste of the cake. But Ains will never forget that taste in his life. Erin remembers that time and remembers that the cake was not very beautiful, but she was still very proud that she made it herself because Ains was happy. And then he tried to teach her mother how to make a cake, but the sponge cake never rose. In the end, it turned out to be quite skillful, but delicious. Ains actually always dreamed of being with Erin, and even now he doesn't give up on that hope. He wanted to show that he was worthy of Erin, so he volunteered for the dangerous Northern Front. He wanted to become a hero for her, gain fame and fortune, come back and propose. He thought that he would find the courage to tell her this, but he did not have time. One day, he read in the newspaper that some noble people from the creator had a wedding. Although the face was not visible in the picture, but judging by the article, it was definitely Erin. Now she became a duchess, and Ains became even further away from her. An inexperienced noble lady took over the reign of the imperial creator. Rumors circulated that her husband was having an affair with a younger aristocrat. Ains had a very difficult time entering the high society, but he achieved everything not without sacrifices of nature, received poisoning by Lucifer. But he regretted everything when it happened that because of his early, or Erin, was denigrated. He resigned himself in the sense that she got married and restrained herself so that at least she would be happy. But when he looks at her and can't get rid of the thought that he wants to be together forever, she would probably find this impudent after he had ruined her life. But Ains had decided that when he was cured, or even if he was never cured, he would still tell the whole world the truth and clear her good name. And before he did this, for now, despite being interested, he just wants to be near her. Erin and Melly started making tomato soup together. The maid, of course, didn't know the recipes, but she helped prepare the ingredients, and Erin did the rest. In fact, the recipe was very simple. It turned out great. Although it is not the most festive dish, but Erin made it with the hope to please Ains. Only he. He tried this soup you could not stop and ate it all very quickly. The taste was just fantastic, and Melly said the same. Only Erin cooks so deliciously. How did she figure out how to count the freshness of the tomatoes with the potatoes and meat? It was so delicious, and they both got more. Erin is great at cooking not only desserts but other food as well. It's truly worthy of a royal table. When she opens a cafe, it will definitely become the most popular place. Erin Kojay had been thinking about a name for her cafe for a long time. This name will be associated with memories of my mother. Lemon. At the same time, there was a ball at the estate of Earl Flynn, and then the ladies gathered in the lounge to chat a little. Serena was as beautiful as always and is called the first beauty of the imperial palace. The ladies wanted to discuss whether it was true that the Duke gave the Duchess a divorce for her betrayal, and Serena, with such sadness on her face, said that it was all true. But she didn't have time to tell the details because there was a real fuss about the Archduke coming. Because he rarely appears in society, he immediately took all the attention. Today, he was especially charming, and he looked very much like his mother. She was known to be the first beauty in the empire. Calix glanced at Serena and immediately turned away. She realized that he was angry with her. Calix has always been like this. He is the first prince's only brother, and Serena really tried to get closer to him even when they were teenagers. But no matter how hard Serena tried, he didn't mock her or laugh at her. He completely ignored her existence. But she doesn't want him to treat her like that in public. So she decided to just avoid it and go have a little chat with her stepfather. The ladies immediately began to discuss that the risk on us shame the wife of the Duke of Raymond opened a cafe was the eastern part of the capital. It seems a cafe pastry shop where they serve coffee with sweets. The ladies did not understand why Erin opened a cafe not in the center of the capital but on the outskirts. Then they remembered her betrayal and thought that she wanted to avoid unnecessary attention and live with the leader of the knights. It was very funny the former empress, probably the student's cunning, allowed to live far from the city center and enjoy happy days with her lover. Calix couldn't help but be interested in this conversation and approached the lady, politely asking what kind of lover they were talking about. Everyone was shocked that His Highness had paid attention to them, so they immediately stood up to greet him. Calix tried to speak very carefully so as not to scare anyone and still find out what they were talking about. When he apologized for eavesdropping, they forgave him right away, and now he finally asked what happened to his daughter-in-law. He missed everything because he hadn't been to the capital for a long time, and so he didn't know what happened. In general, the emperor forbade spreading gossip, Erin. So the lady now did not know and whether it was worth answering this question. but Calix so persistently asked them about it. Although she knew that her grandfather had forbidden talking about it at court, but now they are not at the imperial palace, so it is possible. Somehow he was able to gain the trust of these girls, so they told that the former duchess hugged Eins and they were caught in the garden at night. They were hiding in the bushes. Well, it's obvious what a woman and a man can do in the bushes at night, so the Duke immediately filed for divorce. And after the divorce, Erin bought a cafe further from the center. So the lady thinks that she did it because she wants to meet her lover there. Calix was of course grateful for this story, but asked, did the ladies themselves personally see Erin and that night in the bushes at night? Of course not. Someone else told them about it, and so they went up the chain to find out who saw it. They have already listed several people who told about this, but none of them saw the betrayal personally, and it turns out that there is not a single witness to what happened. This is where Lady got caught. She heard a story told by someone unknown and retells it to everyone with such confidence as if she saw it all herself. Calix may be friendly, but he is still the only Archduke of the Empire and he has the Emperor's sympathy on his side. The lady should have kept her mouth shut. Now she begged for forgiveness. Calix said that if she really wanted to live, then she shouldn't blab about things she didn't know for sure. Calix went to the balcony to get some fresh air. He hates the capital. There is so much dirt and everything as he expected. Erin definitely can't have a lover. The palace is a place where maids, officials, countless guards, soldiers constantly walk around to know if the Duchess really planned to meet her lover in secret. She would invite him to her place in peace. There can be no talk of any secret meeting in the garden. Erin would never do such a thing. Calix was informed of news from the south that the Emperor was finally returning to the capital. The next day the weather was very hot, although it wasn't even summer yet. A girl walking along the streets was looking for a place to rest and saw some new café. Having read the sign for a café confectionery, she decided to go in earlier. The café could only be found in the city center, so I wonder what is there. Inside it turned out to be very nice and neat. The girl didn't want to get desserts in an unfamiliar place, so she just ordered a cup of iced tea. But today, in honor of the opening of the café, she was also given a dessert as a gift. The girl was happy that she got it for free, but then she was surprised. She had never tried such sweets. They were so tender and delicious that they just melted in her mouth. Erin shared what she does to make these scones with cream to make them softer and suggested trying some other items. She immediately won the girl over because she was polite and beautiful. But the taste of these desserts was truly amazing, and also refreshing iced tea. In such hot weather is just perfect. The girl ordered a few more items from the menu. This dessert is very difficult to find. She has never seen it before. It's millefeuille. It was incredibly delicious. The client was satisfied. Erin went to prepare more gift desserts because today is the opening day and the first visitors need to be pleased. But when she brought another batch of cookies, she noticed that the cafe was somehow quiet. As it turned out, important people from the palace came and reported that the Emperor had returned to the capital and was calling Lady Erin to him. 9 years ago, the Emperor met with Lady Erin and sincerely apologized to her. Rumors reached him that, since she married Raymond, he has been constantly showing her disdain and hostility. The Emperor insisted on this marriage, and he understood that the marriage would not be easy, but he did not know that everything would be so deplorable. He understood that he was completely to blame for this, and therefore sincerely apologized to the lady. Erin said that everything was fine and that she was grateful to the Emperor for what he did for her parents. And then he said that as long as he was alive, Erin could count on any help and support from him. There were already several visitors in the cafe, but they all sat quietly to find out why such important people came to the owner of this cafe. Erin had to go to the Imperial Palace because the Emperor wanted to ask her for help. Erin already understood that this meant the Emperor was the same as before, so she refused. She had no desire to return. She asked Monsieur to convey her deepest gratitude to the Emperor, and she decided to put some freshly baked cookies as a gift to the Emperor. It's a trifle, but she still asked to convey this to the Emperor. The servant conveyed everything exactly as she said. The Emperor actually knew that Erin would not return here because she was so offended, and he decided to call his grandson Raymond to him. He immediately came and did it. He already knew why his grandfather called him. Raymond immediately said that he and Erin discussed everything like civilized people, and this divorce was a reasonable decision made together, because usually when people are not suitable for each other, so that they don't suffer, they get divorced. But the Emperor clearly saw Erin as an empress, and Raymond as an emperor. This is not some ordinary couple. They must be together to rule the empire. Raymond knew this very well, so he could not allow rumors of her infidelity to tarnish the honor of the royal family. This is the excuse he came up with. Grandfather put so much effort into Raymond and Calix's education, but for some reason it didn't make them any smarter. This repair boy keeps doing everything his own way. Years ago, he was ordered to marry Aaron, but he still kept bringing the girl he loves. Aaron was supposed to be his wife. The emperor was really offended that his grandson was so stupid and believed this rumor without evidence. At first, this was enough reason for divorce after years of marriage. Even the emperor knows Aaron better than her ex-husband. He knows that Aaron is a good, decent girl. Besides, she showed herself well in the palace breeding. She was too kind. Raymond said very rude words to his grandfather. He said that if his grandfather wanted to make Aaron an empress so much, he should marry her himself. And besides, he had always been so generous and kind to her. The divorce process can no longer be stopped, so Grandpa A himself must marry Aaron. No one will be able to object. The emperor threw tea on Raymond's face and told him to bring Aaron home. But even after that, Raymond still refused, saying that it was impossible and she had already signed the divorce papers. Without the emperor's permission, he can't get a divorce, and the documents he's talking about have no power. The emperor didn't give permission for a divorce for long, and so they are still husband and wife. He ordered Aaron to be brought here. And it wasn't a request, it was an order. Raymond returned to himself in hysterics. Serena was in the room and he immediately kicked her out. Serena tried to show up for work or he knows what happened, but she still ended up outside the door. She thought that if she got rid of Aaron, she would become a duchess herself. That night, she drugged the leader of the knights to create a compromising situation. The drug didn't work as it should and the dirt wasn't particularly hot, but Serena still hoped that she would hold on, dump her wife, and finally marry her beloved. Only the emperor refuses to recognize Serena, so he even stripped Raymond of his status as crown prince. And Serena is incredibly angry. She doesn't understand what happened to Aaron. How can she be better? Then she thought about getting rid of Aaron altogether so that the renovation would finally belong entirely to her. Very quickly, the news will spread that someone from the imperial palace has moved to the eastern part of the city I opened there. And also this man was followed from the palace and asked to return. But she did not agree, and instead sent the magnificent dessert as a gift to the emperor. Everyone was wondering who this special one was. The girl who became the first visitor told all the other people about it. Although I still couldn't figure out the identity of the cafe owner, she cooks wonderfully. The desserts and drinks in this cafe had a pleasant, refined taste, and an ordinary cafe owner would not be able to afford to buy such high-quality ingredients. Thanks to the fact that these rumors quickly spread to this cafe, a whole line of noble ladies formed. Aaron cooked non-stop from the large number of visitors. She was going to visit Einz today and thank him for the gift, but now she didn't know if she would be able to because of her fatigue. Just recently, she was brought a huge gift. It was an expensive, beautiful tea set. Together with him, she even received a note and realized that it was her friend who was very pleased that he helped her so much. Aaron waited until the pie was baked and immediately carried it hot to sell. But before she could enter the cafe, you heard some screams coming from there. Some man was yelling at Melly and even pushed her, so Aaron dropped the pie to run and protect Melly. This man demanded to call the owner of the cafe to complain about the bad manners of the waiter. Aaron immediately stood in front of him and asked how he could behave like that. It was unacceptable here. The man started to claim that he paid the waitress gold coins, but she claims that he paid silver as if he was some kind of car. In fact, this man actually paid in silver and then began to demand change, claiming that he had given gold coins. Melly tried to call me for help, but there are only 2 ladies in the cafe, and they are afraid of this rude guy. Everyone started talking about how this gentleman actually gave silver coins. They saw it with their own eyes. Since there were witnesses, Aaron asked the man again what he could say to justify. He threw a bag of money in her face and said that she counted it all herself if she didn't believe. Aaron picked up the fallen purse and pulled out several gold coins and threw them in the face of this big guy. He started to get indignant. Aaron said that he should read his own money. He was not taught as a child how to behave in the presence of ladies, and apparently he was not taught mathematics either. The man got so angry that he was about to hit Aaron, but suddenly someone hit him on the head with a sheath. It was the crown prince. He stopped this man. Here are the worst mistakes of his life. He was so glad to see Lady Aaron, but it was a pity that she had to go through this now. The man who was lying on the floor was about to get up on Calix, put his foot right on his neck, not allowing him to get up. This man also snaps back. Calix was ready to execute it right now, but he needed to get Aaron's permission because everything was happening in her cafe. Aaron asked him not to do this, and then the customers would stop coming here. Then they let go of this guy who quickly crawled out of the cafe as far as possible. Aaron apologized to the ladies who saw the scene and then finally asked him why he came. Calix couldn't help but come because his former relative opened a cafe, and there are such interesting events. Aaron, because this doesn't happen every day, and again thanked for the help. She offered him a unit for a cup of tea because she understood that the prince was trying to avoid the lady's attention. However, Melly said that there was a customer waiting outside, and because other things had come up recently, he decided to leave. I said that he would come at another time. The main thing is that he visited Aaron's new cafe. Aaron hurried to the customer. It turned out he had come on the orders of Lady Catherine von Levant. She wanted to order a cake here for a certain date for tea. Aaron quickly remembered that this was the Prime Minister's granddaughter. She was a duchess. And Aaron didn't even know why that lady was ordering from such a modest bakery. But she also asked the chef to come personally to the tea party and present the cake. Now it became clear what the matter was. She didn't need a cake at all. She wanted to put on a show, but Aaron wasn't afraid of that. There was no reason to refuse, so she accepted the order. The day wasn't over yet. Even after closing, Aaron was preparing desserts for tomorrow. The Crown Prince appeared, and without warning tried one of the desserts. He appeared too unexpectedly, and even managed to scares. But he said he came to see how his former relative worked and took one of her desserts. Aaron is already divorced, so she is essentially a nobody to this heir apparent, but he continues to call her his ex-relative. In fact, he always treated her well. Crown Prince Calix Ruthin. He was orphaned early and was installed as a prince of the imperial family by a friend of his father. But a year later, the Crown Prince fell ill with a serious illness. The emperor took pity on the boy and raised him as his own grandson and even spoiled him. That's why Calix was so freedom-loving, kind, and independent. When Aaron first moved to the imperial palace, she was very shy, and Calix would constantly appear out of nowhere and stalk her. He was very kind and tried to entertain and amuse his sister. Aaron had to turn him down when she was busy with work. Even though he was upset, he still didn't leave and just watched her work. Aaron then began to treat him to cookies that she had prepared for the guests. In fact, in the company of the prince, everything was not so bad. Aaron had a hard time understanding the strict imperial etiquette, the huge list of things that the doors in the imperial palace were responsible for, and she was surrounded by people who were constantly discussing her personal life behind her back. And this boy was a ray of light and kindness in her life. When he grew up, he moved to his estate. She never saw him again. And I didn't think that I would meet him under such circumstances. He wanted to see how she worked, but she still thought that it was uninteresting and he was bored, so she suggested that they take a walk and look at the views. But for him, the capital was boring everywhere. He didn't want to walk. Balls and receptions every day were already tired. It's good that no one bothers him in the estate. Aaron could imagine the crowds running after him everywhere, so she understood him. Calix suggested Aaron to go visit him, and no one would offend her there. But she couldn't agree because she had to work. And now, she has already carried the first part of the desserts for sale. And she said that if he wants something, he can take the cookies in the cupboard. He laughed and said that he had long since outgrown such childish passions. In fact, Calix was glad that Aaron was doing so well now because at court she constantly had to play a role, and she couldn't say what she thought. Now for the first time he sees that she is constantly for herself. She has changed so much and for the better. Aaron was getting ready for tomorrow and putting the desserts on display. And Melly in the meantime was busy making goulash. She had already made several macaroons. Surprisingly, she did a very good job of them, just like the real thing. Aaron had to go out for a bit to get some ingredients, and she told Melly that he had been staying home lately, so she needed to keep an eye on him. Aaron was going to buy ingredients for a cake for Catherine. It was already evening and it would soon get dark, but she said that she would be back soon. Raymond, meanwhile, was on his way to carry out the emperor's will. This stubborn old man has never accepted a request for an audience since that day. He doesn't want to see Raymond until he gets Aaron back. And the Duke just doesn't understand that the emperor found Aaron? She is from the same family, but there is no particular greatness in them. Raymond came to this café pastry shop. Everything was as Aaron said. He went inside and saw some kind of mess on the table. It was outrageous. I couldn't even believe that the former Duchess lives in such a place. Then, he saw really beautiful desserts in the display case and realized that she made all of this herself. When you heard that before marriage, she was a baker. Serena told him about it. She told him some weird story about how the Duchess received a birthday present. It was pie crusts. And all because she once went and sold pies on the street to help her family with debts, and she wasn't even ashamed of it. It was sheer nonsense for the Duke to sell baked goods on the street. I didn't attach any importance to it then. Her life never interested him at all. Suddenly, Melly entered the cafe from another door. She didn't expect the prince to be there. She greeted him and he asked where Aaron was. The maid knew that Aaron would not be happy about his arrival and said that today Lydia went out for ingredients and would be gone for a long time. But instead of leaving, the Duke stayed to wait for her. Aaron stayed in the store for so long that it was already dark and the streets were empty. This made her feel uneasy. She decided to return quickly, but the feeling of anxiety did not leave her. Some person had been following her for a long time. Then she decided to start running. He saw this and ran after her and was about to grab her, but she hit him right on the head with a bag. All the ingredients spilled out and got into my eyes and face. It was a bit distracting. Erin's main goal now was to save herself. Her skirt was in the way of her running, but Erin didn't stop. In the end, because of the length of her skirt, she still fell, and this man quickly caught up with her. Then he took out a dagger. Erin asked why he was doing this if he needed money, and she was ready to give everything, but he didn't need money. He felt sorry for Erin, but he was just following orders. He had to make sure she died quietly. He swung the dagger. Erin got scared. The only thing she managed to do was close her eyes, and then the first drops of blood gushed out. But it was not Erin's blood. It was the blood of the attacker, and a sword was sticking out of his body. He obviously did not survive such a severe wound and died on the spot. Calix killed this mercenary. He looked very excited and seemed to be running fast. He extended his hand to Lady to help her up. She refused because she could do it herself. But she was still wrong. Her legs wouldn't obey, so Calix said she would help. He dropped to her level and grabbed her by the waist, after which he quickly lifted her up and she was able to stand on her feet. For some reason, she was embarrassed by this, but she still thanked him. The principal thought that the person I wanted to attack her was probably an ordinary robber, but Aaron heard that he didn't need the money. He said that he was ordered to kill, but Aaron didn't understand why, because she was no longer a duchess and her honor continued to be ruined by rumors of treason. If anyone wanted to cause more harm, it would be Serena. She always did that. Calix said that she would take Milady back to the cafe since she was still confused and needed to calm down from what had happened. As long as he was there, she was not in any danger. He extended his hand so that they could go together, but Erin said that she could go on her own. Then he offered to at least take him by the elbow, but she refused that too. It was still interesting how he knew where she was and managed to run so quickly. It turned out she hadn't returned home for a long time, so he asked the waitress and then came here to find that a villain was chasing Erin. It's very lucky that I managed to run to help in time. Erin was naturally grateful for saving her life and then asked if she could come to the cafe every day and eat cakes. But now you don't even have to ask about that, Erin allowed. Calix blushed a little at her smile and said, "Never go to such places alone again and let her hire a servant." Erin is grateful for his care. He has always been like this. When they met, he was still a very young boy. And now, Erin doesn't even know who this man is next to. He's so tall and strong. When they reached the cafe, Erin thanked him again and said that she would not remain in debt. Suddenly, the cafe doors opened and someone came out. This is an enraged Raymond, and he was so zoomed in because he saw Calix here, and also with Erin at such an hour. He immediately asked them why they were together. But the question, if anything, should be asked by Erin. Why is the Duke here? She wasn't going to answer the Duke's question no matter what she did or whoever she met. He had no reason to be interested in these people now. They were nothing to each other. Raymond was perplexed, and Calix enjoyed it, and even laughed because he hadn't seen that expression on his face for so long. Then he himself decided to tell that he saved his former relative from a robber and walked her home because it was dangerous on the street now. Raymond didn't expect her to be a robber and asked if everything was okay. It's surprising that he's even interested in this, but everything is fine thanks to Calix. Erin asked the Duke why he came and suggested that they go inside, since standing outside was no better for her. Raymond noticed traces of the attack on her clothes and realized that now really wasn't the best time. He said that he would come next time. Calix also said it was time to go home, but he said he would return tomorrow to his dear relative. Calix immediately went after his brother to discuss what had happened. Some man attacked Erin, and he definitely wasn't some kind of robber or bandit, Calix said, where on the street bare that body was left lying, and Raymond said he looked at his mistress more closely. This made Raymond angry enough. Calix was sitting in his north quietly, and now he has come to his brother's domain trying to teach him life. Did he really realize that he was not just an adopted child, but a descendant of kings? Years ago, Raymond went into his father's office. You saw Calix there. Many times he told his brother that he couldn't come in there. Calix was only years old at the time. He was a child who often disobeyed adults. Raymond was years old at the time. Although they were not considered brothers, they were good at age and Calix was a very sweet boy. Raymond never pronounced even helped. Then Raymond thinks that even if Calix inherits his father's lineage, the title of Grand Duke, and is higher in status, Raymond will still remain a royal blood in contrast, so he doesn't worry about anything. But then he found a letter in his father's office. The letter was addressed to Tara. This woman is the Grand Duchess and mother of Calix. The letter was written in a dream. His handwriting was visible. As it turns out, he and the Grand Duchess were lovers, and the last letter was sent shortly before the Duchess's marriage. This means that the child she is pregnant with may in fact be the Crown Prince's. It is possible that the father adopted Calix and raised him as his own and did not think that he was the son of his best friend because he really was his son. But even if he does something now, he knows that the repair is not going to give in to him in any way. He ordered the body to be found on the street and identified. Erin, meanwhile, was thinking what to do because she was confused about all the ingredients she had bought for the cake, and it was supposed to be delivered in the afternoon. There is no chocolate and there is no point in even starting to make a cake. Ask for a delay. It won't work because it will be a blow to the cafe. Erin thought about bringing Katerina one of the ready-made cakes from the counter because there were no other people there. But suddenly when she opened the door, she saw something. The next day at the Duke of Levant's estate, everyone was waiting for Erin to bring them cake. Although they thought that opening a cafe was just an excuse and a cover to meet with that very night, but the lady could not talk about it. Because people, Catherine is in love with the commander. Innes did not want to believe that he has a lover. Marquise Erin de Brescia arrived with a cake. The ladies were there waiting for her and couldn't wait to see her. A magnificent cake. Erin was holding a large box and was about to present it. Erin acted like a real professional pastry chef. The girl ordered a chocolate cake and Erin made it in the classic version. He is a little modest in his appearance, so she decided to do something special to distinguish the young ladies that we will definitely like it. It's beautiful. This cake looked like it had real flowers on it, but in fact they are made of white chocolate. Erin thought for a long time before she came up with the idea to decorate it with something tasty and at the same time beautiful. It was not easy because at first she did not have the ingredients, but last night when she opened the door, she saw her bag and all her purchases were in place. Someone left them here. Erin immediately realized that it was Calix who had bought her groceries and brought them here. So she was quite curious as to how he had entered the yard unnoticed. Lady Catherine was unhappy that the other lady liked this cake so much, but she had to check if it was really that good. In fact, everyone was already talking about how tender and tasty it was. Katerina couldn't go, but when she tried it, she was shocked. The cake really did have a perfect taste. The lady wanted to find fault and criticize this cake, but in the end, I didn't even notice how I ate it all. It was so delicious that there was no point in lying. Erin is glad that everyone liked it, and finally the ladies started asking her for additional orders for their next tea parties. Suddenly, Serena appeared. She wasn't here until now, but she came and said that you also want to place an order. Erin greeted the lady. Serena began to wonder where Erin had been all this time. She wanted to invite her to dinner, but she couldn't find her. Erin announced that she no longer lives in the palace. Serena wanted to order a cake for the ball at the palace, which will take place in days. Serena said that if Erin made a cake for this day, she would have no end of customers. Erin happily agreed to this wonderful idea. She said that she would bake the most exquisite cakes for such an occasion. Serena thanked her and then said that she was very happy for Erin because she did not suffer from excessive shyness. Serena was worried there because Erin's affair with the Knight Commanders was exposed to the world, so she would be ashamed to show herself to people, but it turned out that she was living a great life and it was really worthy of praise. Serena is the same as before, using sarcasm, causticity, and courtly kindness. But Erin is no worse and she can respond to such. It thanked Serena for this flattery, but said that she could never be on her level because Serena has been openly creating a relationship with her husband for years, and if she is not ashamed to show herself to people, then why should others be? Erin said she was even inspired by Serena's courage and that she became the perfect example of a confident, liberated woman. All the ladies started laughing at Serena, and she got angry and didn't know what to answer. Erin promised to make a better cake that Serena would definitely like, even though it might be a trick since she always played tricks when she lived in the Imperial Palace. Erin knew it was a trick, but she wasn't going to order from me. She already had a rough idea of what Serena had in mind. She said she liked chocolate and asked for a white chocolate cake. Erin was going to make the best cake fit for the Imperial Palace to increase the prestige of the establishment and her own reputation. Erin is tired of being a silent target, and now she goes into battle herself. All she could do all these years was remain silent. Two little girls came into the cafe and said they wanted to buy a cake. They arrived when the cafe was already closed and Melly told them to come tomorrow. But the girls would need just any cake. They were ready to pay and leave quickly. They needed it today. Aaron asked why. It turned out that today is the birthday of one of these girls. Usually parents make cakes for children. But maybe these children are in trouble. Aaron had some cakes left over. She said she would make a cake for them right away and asked the girls, "What flavors do I like, because she can make what you have in one?" The girl wanted a cake in the shape of a cat. It was something unusual. It turned out that the girl's mother often made cookies in the shape of cats for her, so now the girl wanted a cake. The older sister explained that the cookies can be shaped into any form, but it is impossible to make them into the shape of a cat. Kind auntie agreed to make a cake right now, although it is already closed here, so it is better not to be capricious. Aaron realized that kids care more about how something tastes like nothing, so she decided to make something interesting. The easiest thing is to cut out the cakes in the shape of a head with ears, but for a child's birthday you want to do something special, and Aaron personally had an idea. There are still some stacks left that Melly used to make the display case. Aaron quickly came up with a great idea, although it wasn't easy to do. She tried to make it as cute as possible, and the girls really liked the one with the cat figures. So they were also edible because they were made of marzipan. Aaron also had some petals left over from making them, so she gave them to the girls too. The girl went to her place to pay for the cake. Aaron, I wanted to take money with the child, besides that made the remains. But the girl learned that you can't take something without paying. So Aaron named the lowest price, 1 silver coin. Having bought it, the girls were finally going to go home. They live on Rue Bayard and work in a fruit shop. With gratitude that they left, Aaron felt so bad that the little kids had to work. But that's probably why her remaining sister was so smart. Thanks to these girls, Aaron had a nice idea about Serena. Soon, she sent a letter to Serena in which she said that she would send a worthy decoration for the ball and hoped that Serena would show this one to the guests. Serena didn't even read the letter to the end and simply tore it into pieces. And she was irritated by the fact that Aaron was so calm for a woman who you embroidered the world with shame on the forest. Serena was at peace. Tell in the capital while Aaron lives here happily and sells her desserts. Serena even sent a hired killer. But out of nowhere, the prince appeared and saved her. Serena definitely won't be able to get to Calix because everyone loves him so much. It's not clear why he spends time with Aaron though, but if she couldn't get to her directly, Serena was going to do something different, and she went to Raymond. Tomorrow she was going to have a ball at her place and invited him as a companion. Raymond was not eager to go to her with her. It was noticeable how he had cooled towards Serena since the last time he talked to the Emperor. However, she was about to make him an offer he couldn't turn down. Raymond hadn't gone out with her in public for over a month, so she was worried that rumors might start and that she'd lost his favor. She said this because such rumors could harm not only her, but him too. Raymond has been cheating on his wife for years and even filed for divorce because he has a mistress. So if he asks Serena now, he will be left all alone with the Emperor's wrath and problems. Raymond is proud, so he will never admit that he is wrong. Now he agreed to this proposal. He can't leave Serena even if he's already tired of her. She will never let him go. Aaron was just home baking cakes, but now she found herself in this place. Together with Calix, they chose outfits. Although he is a small connoisseur in fashion. Just an hour ago, Aaron was getting ready in his house. Calix also came because he wanted to help, but he couldn't do anything. He didn't even know that making a flower was so difficult. Aaron said he didn't have to help. She told him to come to the cafe whenever he wanted, but he started coming too often. He seemed not to understand that their frequent meetings would only ruin his reputation and continued to come. Melly has everything ready to send the cake to the Brennan estate tomorrow. Aaron was planning to go to the ball herself so the maid could rest after dinner. Calix learned that Aaron was going to the ravine at Serena's invitation and asked if she had chosen a partner. Aaron was planning to go alone, she had no one to ask. And she wasn't planning to dance, so she didn't need a partner. But Calix offered her his candidacy. Although before this, he always said that he was bored at balls. But this time, if Aaron is going, then he is sure that he will not be bored. Besides, it's obvious that she won't go to the ball just to bring a cake and say goodbye. Aaron, of course, did not deny it. But she did not want to involve Calix in this, because if he went as her companion, he would hear a lot of trouble about himself from the nobility, and maybe even Raymond. But Calix didn't care what they said about him. He would still do what he wanted, live the way he wanted. Living constantly worrying about what others think is too tiring. That's why Aaron divorced Raymond. Calix said that if she went out into high society with him, she would have one undeniable advantage. Serena hates the second principal, so if she saw him with Aaron, she wouldn't even dare to come close. Calchas almost, he told her to agree. Then she realized something that others would talk about does not matter, and offered him to become a partner. Calchas agreed, but he also wanted to ask her that we go downtown with him, and that's how they ended up here. But Aaron doesn't really know much about fashion either. Then, she asked for which lady, and he wants to pick out a dress. Who is she, and what is she like? Aaron realized that she had made a mistake and maybe Calchas was in love with some girl and there was no need to ask such questions. She was so stupid that she didn't understand right away. So he told her that she had to pay, or a girl who was very different from a typical noblewoman. And he wanted to make the most beautiful gift for her and please her. It's not about the price you can give her the most expensive dress in the empire, but if she doesn't like it, then it's worth nothing. His description, he must be talking about some very noble lady. Aaron was very interested in who she was, but it would be impolite if she asked about it. Aaron said that the prince would rather give a gift with a feeling, with a special meaning for such a girl with exquisite taste. Calchas called the servant and said that all the dresses were bought in this shop. Aaron was shocked. "Vitya, you are a gift the size of a monthly budget of the imperial palace," Aaron asked. The Duke does not think, and that he will embarrass the Lady of the Heart if he gives her all this. Calchas didn't think it would all turn into such a misunderstanding, but he noticed that Aaron would be angry if he didn't tell her straight out. He said that he actually brought her here to kill the dress and give them all to her so that she would choose the best one and go to the ball. Aaron asked why he wanted to give her such a gift. At first it was some interest, then just concern. Aaron found out that he was helping because he had a second attachment to her. But now he is clearly overdoing it. She has already started to come up with all sorts of unnecessary things. But Calchas realized that she didn't remember something about how she had made him a promise. She once promised that she would accept a dress from him as a gift. Aaron de Brescia is known in the Empire as a divorced duchess of ill repute. The first memory of her is associated with the period when Calchas was only years old. The emperor said that when Calchas sees Aaron, he should behave decently because she will become his brother's wife. And then she was already engaged to him, and Calchas had no interest in Aaron. He thought about sneaking out of this meeting, but that was until she appeared in front of him. Having seen her once, he could no longer take his eyes off her. He liked her very much, and 6 months later, the brothers' engagement with Aaron took place. The following year, their wedding took place, after which she began to live in the palace. However, Brother Ryman immediately after the wedding brought his mistress into the courtyard and everyone laughed and condemned the lonely duchess. Aaron ignored the rumors and Tifu was busy with the household at the palace. At least it seemed that way. Calchas once got tired of the fact that the mistress that his brother brought was living in the palace while his wife always looked so busy and tired. And his mistress spent all day arranging receptions and banquets. Then he walked along the corridor of the palace and passing by the kitchen. It was a matter of fact that at such a late hour there was still someone there. At this time, even the servants were already leaving for their rooms, but suddenly in the kitchen, he saw his brother's wife. Then he wanted to pretend that he didn't see anything, how she was crying and leave, but she noticed someone's steps. So he could no longer hide and went to the kitchen. Aaron smiled sheepishly, and I said that she suddenly had the urge to make lemon pie in the middle of the night. This is my recipe, taught to her by her mother, who always said that sweet listening is a consolation when the soul is heavy. Calchas could already see that Aaron was having a hard time here, and she didn't even hide it. It was unexpected that she could cook. Aaron revealed that when I was a child, I wanted to become a pastry shop owner and open a small establishment somewhere in a quiet place and cook dessert every day. She treated the prince to a piece of pie in exchange for him, keeping everything third took to see today. He said that even a bribe would not be enough to keep him silent. But Aaron was sure that when he tried a piece, he would certainly become her accomplice. Her quiet voice, which seemed to whisper, and a smile addressed only to Calchas, as well as the warmth that permeated her gaze. All these feelings gradually spread to the very heart. Calchas experienced such sensations for the first time, such sweet sensations. He wanted her to keep smiling. Maybe he was wrong. It wasn't long after that evening when they were eating pie together in the kitchen when another event happened. Calchas suddenly offered to buy Aaron a dress. She didn't understand why he suddenly started talking about it. In fact, I recently overheard other children discussing the outfits the Duchess was wearing today. They laughed at that boring dress without a single decoration. Meanwhile, Serena was constantly getting fancy dresses from the Duke that had lots of gems in them, and she looked much more like a duchess. Calchas didn't want Aaron to be hurt by such words and said that you wanted to give her a wedding gift and give her a dress. Only he had already given her a wedding gift, so he decided to make the dress a birthday present, which would be very soon. Erin video how much he wants to give her a gift. How do you want to give her something? So she said that she would be very happy to accept a gift from him, but only if it was not too expensive for you. The prince was very happy, and then for a long time he looked at catalogs of fashionable dresses, but he didn't understand anything about women's clothes. And at first he was going to buy the entire studio. But I think she wouldn't like it. But there won't be any problems because of one outfit, so it was necessary to choose one thing. He decided to turn to imperial design and give Erin a dress that would be brighter and richer than that concubines that no one else looked down on Erin. If she is so hard because of her husband, then Calix will make her smile at the time he thought it was possible. But this was a big mistake. When Erin's birthday came, the rolled-up outfit was ready. He did not spare the cut to make this dress so that the lady would receive a gift and be happy. It was a very light and delicate material of high quality, which is called English, with the help of a special technique, and it was painted, and along the line it was cut out and decorated with precious stones. It was the best dress Calix had ever seen, and it was a new style that was ahead of fashion. He was going to pack it up right away and give it to Erin as a gift. He ran to his sister with the hope that she would like this dress and smile. When he entered her room, he saw that she was holding some other dress. She was happy and smiling because Prince Raymond gave her this dress for her birthday. But he is very busy, so he sent a maid with this dress. It felt like Calix had been doused with cold water. It was immediately obvious that I had chosen this dress as a servant, but Erin was still so happy about this gift. Although her husband didn't care at all. If Calix gives her any other gift now, she won't smile the same way because her heart is not him, but another person. Calix wanted to congratulate her first, but he didn't have time. He said that he just came to congratulate her without a gift and quickly left. Although she offered him at least some tea, he couldn't, and so ended his first love, which he didn't even have time to tell about. He didn't have time to confess anyway. He shouldn't have fallen in love with her from the very beginning. It seems that he wasn't the only one who had such thoughts. Grandfather noticed that Calix was thinking about his brother's wife. He writes that Calix spends a lot of time with Erin, but she runs the household, so she is very busy. Grandfather said that Calix should not bother her too much. Calix said he just visited her a few times because it seemed like she wasn't having an easy time here. She doesn't show it, but she seems to be quite uncomfortable with the presence of this lady Serena. Calix, ask your grandfather to at least throw this concubine out of here. If this would solve all the problems, then the emperor would have done it long ago. But it's about Raymond. Marriage in royal families is not only for love, and now the repair is protesting, but soon it will calm down so you don't have to worry about summer. Serena. But Calix was still worried about Erin. Grandpa said that you can't love someone who is already married, and that's very bad. So you had to stop thinking about it. When Calix becomes a real adult, then he will meet someone who will really go and you can marry her. Calix had wanted so many times for this to be just a fleeting feeling, because he couldn't love Erin. He hoped that if he didn't see her, these feelings would pass. And with these thoughts, he left the empire and went north. Many years later, he found out that Raymond had divorced his wife. And then, he couldn't sit still any longer. The emperor was badly hurt because of this, and therefore returned to the capital ahead of schedule. Calix also decided to go to the capital right away. He quickly found out her location and stood in front of the door of this cafe for a long time, intending to open it. He wanted to meet Erin and you will once and just check how she is doing, until she needed help. He was willing to keep his distance, and now, when she asked why he gave her all these dresses, it would seem that the answer was obvious. Calix could say all he wanted was to help and worry about her, but really he just wanted to be there. But if these feelings remain too burdensome for Erin, then he is ready to come up with something again. Now he remembered the promise they once made to each other. Erin promised that she would accept the gift of a dress, and Calix wanted to give it to her for her birthday. But he didn't have time, so he was worried about it. And now she just needs a new dress for the collapse, so he thought it was high time to make this gift. He thought that one pays her will not be enough, so he decided to give a lot so that it would be a gift for all the years. Erin couldn't accept them because her house didn't even have enough space to store them. Calix was willing to generously free up a closet in his house for her anyway. She didn't have to live modestly anymore because she wasn't in a palace anymore. Now nothing prevents her from doing what she loves, and she no longer needs to pretend to be a wise and caring duchess. There is no longer any need to adapt to other people's opinions. Calix reminded her of this, and Erin was very grateful. Here is not a palace, so she can afford a little luxury. In fact, she wanted to go to a ball in such a chic one day, so she will really be grateful to wear these dresses. Calix was so happy that she liked it that he was ready to choose her a dress for tomorrow. Erin laughed because she remembered a forgotten feeling. For a long time, she could not refuse anything to Calix. She liked to look at his double face when she did as he wanted, so she never refused his requests. Calix didn't even know this and didn't notice, but now he understood and was embarrassed. But Irina ruined it all and said she did it because he was so cute back then, and she always imagined that's what her little brother was like. Calix came closer and said that for men, the word cute is not a compliment. Then she realized that he had already grown up a long time ago, and for some reason after that, her heart began to beat faster. The day of the ball at the Brennan estate, Melly brought the cake that she had been ordering for the lady all the time, asked to make sure that the treat was not damaged during transportation because it was a very important cake, and she was told that there was no need to worry about it. Erin finished making entries in the expense book and began to slowly prepare for the ball. She began to worry that the dress she was going to wear was too bright. It's a gift, of course, but she can't forget Calix's face. It's a birthday present for all the years. Such an idea is definitely only for a prince. Even as a child, he loved to spend money. If he liked something, he would buy it right away. All these dresses he gave her and the fact that he will be her partner at the ball are somehow embarrassing. Erin hopes that it doesn't mean anything special. Melly gave the cake to the Brenna family and returned home to help Milady with the preparations. Erin said that she could handle it herself because Melly was no longer her maid, but a store employee. But Melly said that such a dress would be difficult to put on by herself, and also she would need to do her hair and makeup. Erin generally wanted to dress in a less flamboyant way, like at the event at the palace, to do discreet makeup and a neat hairdo, and also not to wear jewelry. But Malil began to protest because Erin now has such beautiful dresses she should put on brighter makeup than usual and wear jewelry. Besides, today's balloon will feature Miss Siren. She will probably express herself like a peacock this time. Erin didn't refuse help, and Melly immediately ran to get makeup tools. And in order to maintain the image corresponding to the outfit, she painted her lips and a little brighter than usual. It all turned out very beautiful. Erin looked at herself in the mirror and didn't recognize herself. Melly didn't even do anything special because Erin was accidentally very beautiful. Now they only emphasized her beauty. It was getting close to the appointed Duke. He was due to arrive soon. Erin sent Melly to rest. Calix was already waiting with the carriage at the entrance to the café. He was calm, but he had no expectations for this evening. But when he saw Erin in such a beautiful dress, you will be shocked. She looked so beautiful that it blinded the eyes. Calix extended his hand to her. Today he looked great too. They will be a great couple at this ball. Then I do it because Calix would be unusual in clothes. Erin was a little worried about something. Serena and the repair met the guests, but the Duke was obviously very bored. He already regretted that he agreed to come here, but then he heard something that surprised him. Duke Ruthen and Marchioness Brisha had arrived. Raymond was shocked when he saw Erin, but it was the first time in his life he had seen her so beautiful. Everyone was no less surprised. This was the same ex-wife of the Duke, but today she was dressed so that it was difficult to recognize her and also surprised everyone who is her partner. Erin walked up to the beige ones and greeted him. He hadn't even thought that she would show up at such a Soviet event, and even noted that she had already managed to find herself a partner. When he said this, he looked very unhappy. Erin asked why she couldn't find herself a partner if Raymond came here with Lady Serena. He still thought she was wrong about something, but for the first time she was able to answer him like that. Calix said there was no reason why Lady Erin couldn't be here. The legal divorce was already finalized, and the Manda no longer had the right to interfere in her life. Serena apologized to her beloved and said that she invited Lady Erin here herself, and she promised to bake a cake for today. Serena couldn't just accept the cake, so she sent her an invitation card, but no, she knew she would be coming with the Archduke. Serena. Again, I used my trick pretending that Erin asked for this invitation, promised to make a cake. Erin had tolerated it so far, but she wouldn't anymore. She reminded him that Lady Serena had asked him to make a cake first because it would help advertise the cafe. Erin is very busy right now, so she can't take other orders, but she couldn't refuse Serena's request. So she asked if Serena got the cake. Erin tried so hard and was surprised that this cake hadn't been put out at the ball yet. Serena said she ordered the cake to be taken to a separate room that we enjoyed the bones survived. Erin decided to end the conversation there because the dance break would soon be over. Erin felt so good. But her soul didn't think that saying whatever you want was so convenient and pleasant, and she already regretted that she had never done it before. Calix was especially pleased with Erin's behavior, and besides, she herself looked pleased, and her smile was above all else for him. Now she looked much better than when she lived in the palace. Erin actually only learned to talk like that thanks to Calix. Today, he even congratulated her on his seduction into the world of society as Lady Erin. and immediately asked her for the first dance. The dazzling light of the lamp, the bright outfits, the intent glances of those around him. If all this had happened a few years ago, Erin would have definitely refused him. But now she gladly accepted his offer. She was very pleased. She acted as her heart told her. Pleasant music began to play, and many aristocrats did not even dance because they wanted to watch this couple, and they were delighted. Erin and the prince looked like the perfect guy, and their dance was beautiful, as if they were made for each other. Erin didn't expect that he would dance so well, because she had never seen him dance with anyone before. As it turned out, there were simply no people he wanted to invite to dance. Raymond and Serena were sitting at the table. She invited him to go out into the hall and dance, but he did not agree and glared at Erin. After the dance ended, Calix kissed Erin's hand and said it was an honor for him. Everyone immediately started loudly discussing what had happened because the prince had never danced with anyone before, and now he even kissed the lady's hand. But Serena quickly calmed everyone down and redirected their attention to take a short break, calling everyone into a separate room where snacks and drinks were prepared. And there was also a cake that Erin baked. Calix said she didn't want to go and would come here because it seemed like her brother wanted to talk to him. So Erin left alone. But Calix asked the sender in advance to do what she asked for, so everything should be fine. And there was a huge, luxurious box in a separate room. Serena asked how many. Why hadn't they taken the cake out yet? Because they needed to put it outside. It seems the maid in charge was too busy and forgot. Erin said it was okay and the servants opened the box. But the one who was there looked terrible. He was covered in blood. Everyone was shocked. A slight smile appeared on Serena's face, but it quickly disappeared and she pretended to be concerned about what had happened. Everything happened exactly as expected. Angry and abandoned, Hertz failed to order to make a cake for the ball. She herself sent the bloody mess to ruin the whole banquet like a real villain. Serena was probably counting on exactly this scenario, but Erin didn't give in. She herself was surprised by what happened to the cake. She sent the cake in advance and there was time to check it, but the servants didn't do it because they were busy, so they brought the box with the cake here and no one opened it. Erin tried to figure out what the problem was because when she sent him, everything was fine with him. Maybe one of the maids made a mistake and didn't tell about it. But Erin said that it doesn't matter anymore because this cake is just a sample. Serena didn't expect that Erin had a backup plan. She asked where the real cake was then. Erin naturally brought a real cake personally since Serena invited her to the ball. So Erin thought she could bring the cake herself. Erin had previously sent a letter stating that she would make a sample in advance. Serena realized what the phrase meant, that the cake was just decoration for the table, so that the Bones could see in advance the cake that he would have to try. Erin did this because she knew that if she put it out early, the cream might leak and spoil. So, at an event in the Imperial Palace, guests are usually forced to serve real mutaji cake. In this heat, Serena insisted that it be decorated with white chocolate. Erin thinks Serena knows about the fake, but she jumped to conclusions too quickly. Erin now remembered that Serena had never organized an event at the Imperial Palace, so she didn't know. Soon the cake that Erin had brought with her was brought in, and it was truly gorgeous. Erin told Serena that this fake needs to be removed. Such disgusting things need to be removed immediately so that people don't see them. And now in front of everyone stood a gorgeous real cake from Erin. Its design was so detailed yet well thought out. I couldn't wait to see what this piece of art would taste like. White chocolate is a perfect match for the biscuit, and it can easily be compared with the pastry chef and the Imperial Palace. Everyone was delighted with this cake. Erin approached Serena after a while to ask if she liked the taste and the cake itself. Serena said it was really delicious and thanked Miss Erin. But Erin corrected the pronunciation because now I have to call Lady Erin, a decent meeting. It's not that important, but at formal events calling her Miss Erin is just not polite. Living in the Imperial Palace, it is necessary to know such rules of etiquette. It was advice. Serena was annoyed but had to be thankful for it. Erin returned to the main salvo of Mr. Calix. She highlighted quite a bit and because everything went well. And then she asked if everything was okay with the prince. Maybe he had to listen to unpleasant words because of her? He said that everything was fine. Erin, that she was going to go home, although the ball was not over anytime soon. Calix decided to see her off, all the way. She thanked him for coming today and helping so much. He himself was interested, and the next time she was invited to the ball, he would only be glad to become her partner again. Sometime later, Erin noticed that they were driving along some unfamiliar road and asked if they were definitely going home. Calix said not to worry, they are really going home, only to his estate. After the ball, it is customary to have dinner with a light snack, and then return home, so he decided to take Erin to his place. She already had time to think that she and he had some other intentions. Perhaps he was too gentle, so his goodwill left some kind of incomprehensible feeling. Calix had planned this in advance, and had already ordered the services to prepare small treats that Erin would like. It was arranged in the garden very beautifully and elegantly. Erin really liked it. Calix asked to cook a little of everything because he didn't know what Erin liked. Although when they were driving he said it would be a light dinner, in fact it was clear that he tried very hard. It must have been difficult to prepare so much, but Calix was very attentive and caring. And for dessert, there was sherbet and strawberry syrup on top, which really interested Erin. She tried it, and it turned out to be very tasty. The weather is getting hotter, and she thought about including sherbet in the cafe's new menu too. During this time, Erin became a real owner of the cafe. And I think about it even in such moments, Calix, when he addressed Erin, called her the wife of his older brother. Although before this he called her Lady Erin. Of course, in public now he was more accustomed to calling her Yunsunim. Erin didn't care anyway, thanks to the prince she had a lot of fun today. Erin hasn't felt so calm for a long time. After marriage she became a duchess, and then lived in the imperial palace, and then got divorced and bought a cafe and started to run it. And if so, too much has happened in a short time. Just recently she couldn't even imagine that you would no longer live in your yard, that she would have her own cafe. It would have been better if she had achieved all this a little less when her parents were still alive. So she regretted it a little. Calix wanted to cheer her up. So he decided to give her another gift that he accidentally saw in an antique store, and immediately thought that she would definitely give this to Erin. Music box. Erin was amazed because she immediately recognized the object. This thing belonged to her mother and its familiar melody. Still sounds, the box is quite shabby, but very familiar and dear. There is no doubt that this is exactly the same thing that father made personally and gave to mother, the only music box in the world. But because of Dolgoff, he had to sell it. Erin asked how Calix knew about this. Erin herself told him about it many years ago, and even sang this melody, but she didn't remember it at all. It happened when she baked lemon cake at night and they ate it together. Erin then sang the Erden melody that she learned from her mother. This melody is very unusual for other people, and all because it is conveyed by art, so everyone has their own little bit of it. Dad had a hard time recording, but you were in the music box that you made yourself and gave to your mother. Calix even became interested in what the box looked like, but Erin sadly said that they had lost it, so it was no longer possible to see it. It turns out he still remembered it, although even Erin had forgotten. When Erin's parents died, she got divorced. She thought she had lost everything. She thought she would have to start over from the other side. The last years after which she had nothing left seemed meaningless. So her soul was always somehow sad. But Calix appeared. He looks like a real wizard. He helps every time she has a hard time. He did it to please his brother's wife, and always afterwards when she liked the gift. Erin found out that now he only called her by her first name because she was no longer his brother's wife. He was surprised and also happy because it took their relationship to a new level. That same day, the Brennan estate. Raymond was incredibly, but after talking to his brother, then she was at. He asked what Calix was up to and why he appeared on the floor with Erin. Calix was a little upset to hear this. He said that Perm asked him to be her partner at the ball today, but Raymond didn't believe it. He thought that a woman who knew nothing but the palace system couldn't ask for such a thing. Only Raymond seems to know his wife even worse than Calix. It's also strange that he still calls her his wife and not Lady Erin. After all, they're already divorced. Each time Raymond merged more and more. After the ball, he asked Serena if she really invited Erin. He also knows that before this, she tried to kill Erin. This is the last time Raymond will tolerate Serena's antics, and she didn't even deny what happened. She said that she did it because she thought the emperor would then allow them to get married. Raymond said that this old man will never change even when there was no bride yet. He did not allow him to marry Serena, but she is so stupid and does not understand that even if you get rid of Erin, nothing will change. Raymond warned her not to touch Erin again without his permission and left. I was dressing plants to destroy everything in this room because Raymond himself said that his wife was tired of him. And now what? He suddenly changed his mind. This fit of anger was seen by the maid, and she told Serena not to be so angry. She was ready to help come up with something else. She suggested changing the method and simply making Erin leave the capital on her own. After dinner, Erin was going to go home. Calix was very worried and even introduced himself as an escort to the map. Irina was grateful for this evening and said that when he comes to the cafe, she will treat him to a delicious dessert. Calix won't make her wait long and will definitely come soon. When Erin arrived home, she saw that the carriage was standing near the cafe. When she came out, she suddenly saw Duke Raymond. All this time he was waiting for YouTube. When he saw that she had arrived in a carriage with the seal of Reuten, who realized that she had been at Calix's estate all this time. He came here and asked her to give him some time, so they went to a cafe to talk. Erin wanted to end this conversation as soon as possible because it was late. Raymond heard that there was an unpleasant situation at the ball today. She was bothered not only today, but also by invitations time. Therefore, Raymond wanted to calm her down and said that this would not happen again. And if something like this happens to you again, then it's better for me to endure it. And I'll tell him right away. Erin only put up with all this because of him, but that was in the past. She asked if that was really what he wanted to say, and asked him to leave because it was already late and she had a lot of work tomorrow. But Raymond didn't say everything she wanted. He showed up at such a late hour, doesn't know the rules of decency, and doesn't know how to show concern for others. Erin was about to show him where the door was, but he grabbed her hand to say something anyway. He came to apologize, but he didn't think that it would be rude to him. Erin pointed out to him that he had arrived very late now without warning to a stranger's house. Why should she be happy to see him? Now they are strangers to each other. But Raymond said that this is not so because the Emperor still considers them spouses, will not accept the divorce until they get his permission, and he even refused to meet on business. So Raymond told Erin to go with him to the palace. Now it was clear that he came here only because of this. A man who doesn't care how Erin was treated by Serena all this time. He's not the type to apologize. Erin asked why she should go there at his request. The legal part was already completed, and the Emperor did not say anything separately to Erin, so he recognized this divorce. He promised her to insist on her return. And the fact that the Duke started the divorce process without the Emperor's permission, thereby angering the grandfather, is his problem, and Erin is not obliged to come with him to the palace to help in this situation. Raymond asked again why she was talking to him in such a way as if she was trying to make him angry. Calix had told him everything before, that Erin was the first to offer him to be partners at the ball. So Raymond thought that she was doing this to anger her ex-husband and stay on the moon. He spoke as if there was some reason why she shouldn't be on Calix's floor, and she didn't understand why he was talking about it at all. Raymond bailed. He thought that it was obvious that she shouldn't behave like that because they had just recently divorced and people around them might think badly of her. Erin reminded him that before the wedding he brought his mistress into the yard and lived with her for all 9 years, but he still thought that it was different. Erin even thought that if you compare them, then these are completely different things, because she at least purely because they are already divorced. Meanwhile, he was dating someone else when he was married. Raymond said that even if she were allowed to date other men, it should never be Calix. Erin didn't understand why he didn't like his brother so much. There seemed to be some other reason besides the fact that they were on bad terms, but right now the most important thing was, why was Raymond talking about some kind of resolution? It shouldn't concern him at all what Erin does in her life and who she dates. And she doesn't like to hear that. She opened the door and showed Raymond the way out. Now he left, he said that he will come next time to talk again. Erin returned home tired and was going to go up to the bedroom to take a bath and go to bed. But suddenly she heard some sounds in the kitchen. She thought it was Melly doing something, but the kitchen was empty. Erin thought she must have imagined it because she left without noticing the open window. The next day, she woke up very late because she was very tired yesterday. And today, she doesn't have much work to do somewhere, like dessert. But she noticed that the chocolate roses that were lying by the window, the very ones she used for Serena's cake, had disappeared somewhere. Melly didn't touch them, but the window was open in the morning, so maybe the cat ran in and ate the chocolate, or some wild animals got into the house. It was all very strange. But Erin didn't focus on this and started preparing dessert. Today, her dessert of the day is pancakes with cream and strawberries. Miss Fiona, who was the first customer and now often started coming here to order dessert because it was so delicious here. But she couldn't refuse them. Time flies so fast, the summer festival starts next week. The capital starts at the very beginning of summer, and the show before the rainy season begins during the festival. The night market on the embankment was very popular, where traders from different parts of the empire came and brought exotic goods. Well, such a holiday was mostly visited by ordinary people, and therefore after Erin began to live in the palace, she did not have the opportunity to personally attend the festival. But now she has nothing to think about what others will think. And she is definitely going to see the festival. She was going to go alone, but with Fiona said that and one to watch the holiday. And interesting, and Erin better find some familiar man who could play will accompany her. The only one that came to mind was Calix, but she didn't want to kill him under any circumstances. She held on. She couldn't show up at an event for commoners. Then she thought of suggesting going to Melly's festival, but would she like the idea of spending her day off with her boss? Her thoughts were interrupted because a new visitor came looking for the owner of the coffee. He was wearing a brooch with an embroidered tower, similar to this about a low-level official. He is the manager in charge of this area, and he came to check the sanitary conditions. Aaron had only recently opened a cafe and had already come to all the authorities, but he decided to give her a surprise inspection. But Aaron was sure that she was fine, so she didn't take him into the kitchen. He was surprised that the kitchen was in a separate building, and the drinks were made inside the cafe. Aaron doesn't think it's a problem. If she renovates, she can expand the space and add space for a kitchen, but she doesn't have the money for that right now. She showed the perfectly clean kitchen where she had just laid down for dessert that morning. But it all looked good. But the officials had some suspicions. He wanted to know if there was anything else here. Aaron didn't understand what he meant, and his offer to try 10 minutes wasn't what he meant. It seems she doesn't know everything yet since she's new to opening. So he explained to her that if she wants to run a business in this area, she needs to put all her health into it. And he is not talking about these desserts, but about another effort that will immediately become clear to him. Aaron understood why he came here to check her. They are too indifferent, it turns out, in the state of the cafe itself. And what about other inspectors? He does not have any documents or a notebook with him. He demanded money from her so that he would write about her cafe for a good rest. Otherwise, he could write a report in which he would point out the terrible, unsanitary condition of the cafe. Money is fine, but if there is none, he could even accept jewelry. Aaron knew what he meant. But how come she didn't have a single citizen she could bribe him with? If he didn't come to check the sanitary conditions, then he should leave. He can write whatever he wants in the report. He claimed that if they don't write a positive review, then it's like within a month, so it's better to pay her money. Aaron didn't understand why he was so angry. She told him again to do whatever he wanted. But it seems the thing is that he will have some problems if he doesn't get the money. If the inspectors write a negative review, there is a high probability that such a store. But if you give him a bribe and then a problem arises because of this, then the closure will worry you much less because there will be a risk of going to jail. Whatever Aaron does now, it's dangerous. If he came only as a mystery, there would be no need to put on such a show. Aaron doesn't know who sent him, but now it's better for him to leave here and not interfere with work. He left. He said that she would regret it. Aaron could guess who did all this. Obviously, only Serena is capable of such a thing. But just yesterday, she disgraced herself at the ball. Can I calm down yet? Aaron told Melly what happened, and she was also shocked. Where did these people come from? Sometimes it happens that inspectors take bribes from store owners. Who would have thought that such a person would even come here? Aaron wasn't afraid that he would write something bad. He's going because he's the owner. There's also a chance to speak out for his justification. He'll need to go to the office and not talk until they write an order to close. Melly was afraid that someone could have bribed them too, and she suggested asking the Duke for help. Then he would quickly solve everything despite the fact that he looks carefree, but he has a very high status and power. But Aaron already felt a debt to Calix and therefore did not want to ask for his help. Then Melly suggested to contact Mr. Ines because he is the head of the nightly body. He probably has many acquaintances in the administration. Last time he came with a good gift, and besides, he is Aaron's best friend, so he definitely won't refuse to help her. The girls noticed that someone greeted them. It was Ines. There was just no one behind the counter when he came, so he decided to check if there was anyone there at all. But he noticed that they seemed to be talking about him. Aaron was glad that he arrived on time, so they went to the living room together to chat. During this time, he was busy with work and everything was fine with him. But he found out that Aaron was at the ball at the Brennan estate yesterday, so he got worried and came to check on her. Rumors flew very quickly. Aaron said that everything was fine, and on the contrary, it was Serena who needed to be worried. It's not clear why she still behaves like this if she finally got Raymond, as she wanted. Aims that everything was fine, but he actually wanted to talk about something else. He suggested going to the summer festival together. There is nothing hidden in the text here. It's just that a lot has happened recently, and he wanted his girlfriend to unwind a bit. Of course, he didn't force her. He just decided to invite her. Aaron immediately agreed. She also hadn't walked around the evening market for a long time and would like to go together even if bad services could come. She decided not to worry about it anymore. Ains was surprised. He noticed that something had changed in her. When he wanted to say something, Melly suddenly ran into the room because a letter had just been brought. For some reason, a gentleman wants to invite Aaron to tea. This letter is from Count Florence. They all gathered together. What we read. What he wrote there. His address was very polite. He had heard a lot about the Marchioness lately and about her ordinary cakes that appeared at several receptions, so he decided to invite her to his tea party tomorrow at his house. Although he knew it was too late and impolite, he had one pain in her, and the letter was not clear, but Aaron thought that this proposal was sent by the Count's wife. She saw Count Florence several times because he works in the Imperial Palace, but his wife almost never showed up at events, so Aaron never even saw her. Most likely her request is related to Juice A. Recently, there have been many orders with negative connotations. Ains offered to go with her because he had some free time tomorrow, and he could accompany Aaron, because he will be able to help her if something unexpected happens. That's why she agreed to go together. And the next day, they arrived at Florence's estate. They were met by the Countess. She was very grateful that everyone had already arrived despite such a late invitation. Aaron thought the Countess was having a tea party, but she didn't see any guests here. The Countess admitted that she had a request for Aaron and that she had invited only her. She was planning to leave for the capital for weeks tonight, so she dared to be rude and call Aaron in such a hurry. But everything was fine, and Aaron even brought Madeleine cookies and a cake for the Countess. There are a lot of rumors about her dessert, and the Countess had been dreaming of trying them, so she was very happy. Aaron became curious about what rumors were going around because she hadn't heard anything before. It turns out that people say that she bakes very unusual, delicious cakes, but Aaron thinks that there is nothing unusual about them. In the capital, many people would like to order dessert from her, and even the Countess is one of them. Aaron was very pleased. The Countess called her today to make an order in a week. Her birthday will be in the Baltics and she would like to order a special dessert. Countess, I will not finish talking about the southern lands of the continent. There is the Kingdom of Ardion. They opened the borders not so long ago because of the war with the empires. Gravel failed to visit the south coast only once, despite the fact that it is an enemy state. She managed to visit there when she was young, and we understood what, and this is especially the dessert that she would tell us about. This is the one that she tried there. Aaron has never been to the south coast, so she doesn't know what kind of desserts they have there. A few days ago, the Countess bought some jasmine flowers, bought in the lands of the south in the empire. No one knows about this, and even Aaron doesn't know what to do with these flowers. Are they brewed as tea or put into food for aroma? The Countess's mother was from an aristocratic family of the Kingdom of Ardion, and, to avoid his surroundings, she was officially presented to society under the name of an aristocrat from another South Island. After all, the kingdom and the empire were states for a long time, and there is nothing good in divulging this too. When Aaron lived in the imperial compound, there were also many ill-wishers who tried to move to the fact that her mother came from a small northern city. But in her childhood, the Countess was very concerned about her mother's origins. So when she accidentally learned about the illegal ships sailing to the southern lands, she was determined to sail. Now such behavior seems shocking, but at that moment the Countess was very interested to know what her mother's homeland looked like. The southern sea was very different from the western sea. There was white sand and warm sun. Then the girl saw such a beautiful coast for the first time. Walking along the sand, she got hungry and went into the first restaurant she came across and ordered food. She didn't like it. It was foreign food. It was spicy, salty, and seasoned with too many aromatic herbs. Except for one dish, she still can't forget the taste of that dessert. Refreshing and sweet taste of peaches, white cream, pieces of transparent jelly underneath, and sweet floral aroma spreading in the mouth with each bite. Then she ordered 3 portions and couldn't understand what ingredients were included in them. She didn't know the local language, so it was also impossible to ask the owner. There was cream, which is much tastier than cream. It felt like frozen milk, and there was almost a complete absence of the characteristic sweet taste. And all of this was in a shape similar to a tree leaf. Of course, no one knew what kind of dessert it was. Aaron even had a hard time imagining it. An unknown white cream, an incomprehensible jelly made of something, a floral scent, and all of this on a tree leaf. The Countess thought it would be difficult to imagine, but she accidentally found out about the seasoning that is used for this dessert. It is jasmine. Beyond the kingdom is the South Sea, and beyond it are the foreign lands where this flower grows after the end of the war. With the resumption of trade, it is established. Aaron decided to take a closer look at the flowers. They had a rich, pleasant aroma. It turns out you can make tea from them. Aaron became interested in flower tea and even thought about selling it in her café. So the Countess asked many chefs to make a similar dessert, but no one succeeded. They tried to preserve the aromatic taste was not very good, and with the desired taste, the aroma disappeared. So the Countess called the Marchioness, who was famous for her unusual delicious desserts, so that she could try to make it. Not the heart is lazy in the taste and smell of jasmine. Erin didn't know if she could do it. It was such a strong flavor it wouldn't go with a cake or muffin. It would be nice to make a light cream or pudding like what the Countess tried. Gaines asked if there was any information about that white cream. But the Countess had tried different types used in making desserts, but they all tasted different from what was needed. It was quite possible that it consisted of ingredients that were difficult to obtain in the Empire. But the Countess understood that the result might not be exactly the same as she wanted, but she still just wanted to try. Erin has never tried to invent a new dessert, so she's a bit clueless. But on the other hand, it looks interesting, so she agreed to try making this one and fulfill the order. For this, the Countess was ready to generously thank Erin with absolutely any amount of money. Erin refused this, but in return asked for something else. If she could make the dessert that she was looking for on the Countess, she would like to then ask her husband for it because Count Florence works in the office, and the Countess agreed. After they had already left from there, Ains apologized because he couldn't help in any way. He didn't even video similar flowers in the South. Erin decided to ask him for help so that he would occasionally drop by the cafe and conduct dessert tastings. And he was only too happy to fulfill this request, and he was even ready to come every day after work for this. Erin, of course, doesn't mean that. It's enough to just drop in sometimes. Now, when she looked at her friend, she suddenly noticed that he was quite handsome. He probably receives many good offers. I wonder if he is already thinking about marriage. Erin suggested stopping by a store along the way to see if they could buy more jasmine flowers. Ains suddenly approached her, took her by the shoulder and hands, and quietly said that someone was watching them even now. But now it is day, and they are on a crowded street. However, the cart started from the moment they got out of the carriage. There are about 2 stalkers, and judging by their movements, they are not ordinary people, but rather trained knights. Erin thought that it was Serena's people again. But if it was about the knights, then it was definitely not it, because she did not have enough power to use the knights. And it is unlikely that her ex-husband would risk his reputation again. Erin decided to leave things as they were. If they were just watching, there was no need to run away from them, and they couldn't do anything with so many people here. But Erin had one guess, however. She did not tell Ains about it. She simply took his hand, and they went. Unfortunately, it turned out that all the jasmine leaves had been sold in the store. There has been a great demand for goods brought from the south lately, and the next delivery will take more than a month for the Countess's birthday in a week. Ains suggested looking elsewhere, but the only thing that came to her mind was this herbal shop on Bayard Street. However, the shop is in an alley, which is not entirely safe, but it is light now and Ains is nearby, so she decided to go. As they were leaving the store, suddenly, someone called Erin. Suddenly, she saw Calix in front of her. He pretended that for him it was a very unexpected meeting in such a place. Erin wondered what brought him to such a place. The head of the order, Lefnin, immediately greeted the prince. It was their first meeting and Calix just wanted to get to know him. However, he completely forgot that in fact they had already met a month ago in the Imperial Palace. But Calix did not notice him at all. He said that there are often those who are not particularly important. There was a tense atmosphere between the men. Calix asked what Erin was doing here. She told him what had happened and that she was going to Bayard Street. Then he immediately decided to take her there because he just wanted to talk about something important. But this is not the right place for conversation, so he suggested to talk on the way. But Erin immediately moved away from the prince and apologized because today she already had a companion, so she asked Calix for the 3rd evening in a cafe to talk. She took her friend and this obviously attracted Calix's attention. He was unhappy. Ains understood this, and it was also dangerous to go against the prince, so he said he could go with him. Ains could still come to her tomorrow. Since he himself retreated, Erin did not insist that he stay, changed and said goodbye to him. And soon, she was already riding with the prince. She asked directly if it was really he who had sent the knights today to keep an eye on them. Calix said that was not true. Erin then asked how he knew she was in that store. Calix said his services told them about it, but how did they know? They knew because they guard Erin. Calix sent knights to guard her. They were watching. These are different things. Erin was obviously unhappy. You could tell by the look in her eyes. Calix felt it, so he decided to explain. He was just worried last time she was in danger. Erin was of course grateful for his concern, but now it was daytime for her on a crowded street. And besides, she was with the knight commander. Calix didn't know that Commander Lefnin was so capable and decided that he would definitely test him in a duel someday. Aaron noticed that the prince had become so dissatisfied for some reason, so she decided to change the subject and find out what important matter he wanted to talk about. Calix had simply asked if his brother had come to the cafe by any chance. Aaron did not deny it, but how did the Archduke know about it? Was he spying again? Calix pretended not to understand anything and asked what she had discussed with her ex-husband. Aaron was unhappy that he was ignoring her questions, but she still replied that the Duke asked her to go with him to the palace and ask for permission to work for the Emperor, but she refused, after which he immediately left. Calix wanted to ask something else very important. The night market will open next week, so he suggested going there together. Aaron was disappointed and thought that Calix had deceived her and that he had not really had any important conversation. More precisely, he read it as an important conversation. Aaron said that she had already agreed to go to the night market with a friend. Calix was of course glad that she would be safe with him, but he didn't like that it turned out that the corner order had no business that he could afford to go to the market. He said it slightly mockingly. Aaron? It certainly wasn't an illusion, and now she hoped that nothing bad would happen to her. Soon they finally arrived at the right place. Aaron asked again about the color. What jasmine? But unfortunately, they were sold out and there was nothing left. These are all herbs that were brought from the southern lands. The owner ordered a little because it seemed to him that they would only be used for making perfumes, and they were actually bought by a perfume shop. Aaron had a hard time finding a place where octopus is sold, and it is not available here. Now she didn't know what to do. All that remains is to wait for the night market to open. But if there is no jasmine there either, it will be difficult to make a dessert with such a small amount. Aaron started looking for something with a similar smell, and in this store she saw something strange. She saw such dark leaves for the first time, and she wondered if they were spices or something. When she opened the bottle, something strange happened. For a few seconds she seemed to see how a certain amount, but for a hallucination it was too clear a picture. It was as if, for a second, she really found herself in the place she saw, and those dark trees might be somehow connected to those black leaves. Aaron asked the seller what it is. He said that they were brought from the Black Forest, in the north of the mainland near the mountain as down as the mysterious splash. The seller liked the smell, so he put them up for sale, but for a long time no one bought them. Aaron had never been to the northern lands. It was a bit of a stretch for her to walk around empty-handed, so she decided to buy them. When she returned to the carriage, she told Calix she couldn't buy what she needed. To go buy such things can only be bought abroad. It seems all the supplies have run out. Then she told him why she needed such rare flowers and how difficult it would be to make a similar dessert in just weeks. To make a new recipe, you need a lot of products, and more flowers are already changed, but they can't be bought anywhere. But she can't do anything. She doesn't even have the recipe for this dessert. And then she decided to ask Calix for help. It was a small request, which he immediately agreed to. They went to the Imperial Palace. There was a library. Aaron would be able to use the passage to enter unnoticed and then exit. She could get permission to enter, but it would take a long time. Thirdly, only members of the Imperial family are allowed to walk freely in the Imperial Library. And here there are a lot of books, and there are also books that are related to the Ardeon southern lands. But because they were an enemy of the Empire for a long time, they had restrictions on the spread of this culture. Aaron began searching the Southern Family Kitchen recipe book for any hints about the dessert. But she couldn't find a recipe or even the slightest useful information. She couldn't even figure out how to use jasmine. She already has little time, and she even dropped these books. But when she started collecting them, she noticed that the book was open on the page with pictures. It was about the people of Erdon. This book is about desserts of different regions. In the egoists of the area called Erdon as a dessert were popular sweets, and the kitchen has its own specialty in desserts. Aaron had just started reading about it with interest when the prince distracted her. He asked what she was looking for. She explained that she needed the recipe for the dessert that the Countess had spoken about, Calix, and asked her again what the dessert looked like here, because he also tried many of the local cuisine when he was on the south coast. Despite the fact that this is a hostile state and citizens of the Empire are forbidden to go there, the prince did it secretly. His identity was never revealed, so there were no problems. But Aaron was still worried about the prince because something could happen to him. Then he was still alone and was afraid of being too frivolous, and now he understands this. Aaron was angry with him, but for some reason he kept smiling. He just liked the fact that Aaron was worried about him. He promised that he would return safe and sound from now on, even if he went to a dangerous place. Aaron blushed and said that it was better not to go to dangerous places at all. Then she began to describe what the dessert looked like and what it tasted like. She told everything she learned from the Countess. Calix said that he seemed to have tried something like this at the Southport Bazaar, and he even roughly remembers what the ingredients were. But the most important thing is that it wasn't cream at all, which is why the Countess couldn't find a cream similar to what she tried. Calix didn't have time to tell more, because in the library they heard someone screaming. It seemed like someone had come, so Aaron wanted to go and see. But Calix immediately understood who had come, so he took Aaron by the hand and hid it. He asked her to behave quietly because if they went out now, they would meet an unpleasant person. After a while, Aaron recognized from his voice that Raymond was there. He was talking to someone and saying that no one would come here. Raymond was discussing some product that he was supposed to receive, but it was different from what he was promised, and all because he did not follow the agreement. The person he was talking to said he wanted to break the contract because the prince hadn't fulfilled his part. But if he wanted to break the contract, he wouldn't have come here in person. In fact, this organization couldn't just give up on such a precious person as the Duke. From this short conversation, Aaron learned that he made a secret deal with someone. But nothing is clear because they don't talk about shit. Because they suddenly decided to hide, the situation became even stranger, and now they can't get out of here. Calix said that it is better not to interrupt his brother who is busy with an important conversation. Well, and listening to other people's conversations is also impolite. They stood in this position for a little while longer, and Calix whispered that it seemed they were already leaving. Everything happened so unexpectedly that Aaron didn't even notice how close they were, and that his breath was tickling her ears, and his arms were hugging her. As soon as she thought they had left, she immediately moved away and went back to the table with her books. Calix tried to stop her. She ended up colliding with something and the books started falling right on her. But Calix managed to close it with him so that he was not harmed. Aaron thanked him and now she was okay. It turned out that they were not alone at all and Raymond had not left here yet. You could see from his face how irritated he was because of what they were doing here. He thought that they were doing illegal things here and he couldn't stand it. Irina that it was just a misunderstanding. But the Duke did not listen to her and was sure that she was engaged in debauchery in the imperial palace. He, as before, did not listen to Irina. Then she reminded him that he actually brought a mistress to the palace and lived with her. But the repairman didn't want to hear anything more about it because having a mistress is quite common among aristocrats or members of the imperial family. He didn't consider himself guilty of anything. On the contrary, he thought that it was Irina who was acting like a little child and didn't understand anything. During the week at home, did he ever perceive his wife as a person on the same level as him? Irina said that he apparently misunderstood that she was not his property, not only now, but also before, when they were spouses. Therefore, he should not even try to control her behavior, no matter what she does, and also not interfere in someone else's personal life. Raymond was about to insult her, but stopped mid-sentence because Calix advised him to be careful with his words. They may be brothers, but Calix won't let Raymond insult Aaron. The Duke was even more angry that Calix had dared to open her mouth in front of him. Calix asked mockingly, "Will Raymond really run to his grandfather and tell him everything?" But it's not profitable for him, because then he'll have to tell about the secret conversation in the restricted area. Aaron didn't understand what was going on, so she just stood there silently. Raymond didn't want to argue with Calix because there was no point in it, so he just left. Aaron started asking, since when is this a forbidden zone? As it turns out, this was announced quite recently, and now even members of the imperial family can only enter here by decision. Aaron felt guilty because she didn't know this. Calix still fulfilled her request. He thought that he would be able to quietly enter and quickly find the necessary information. But they heard about her that it was interesting who it was with Duke Raymond. What were they discussing? Calix suddenly asked a strange question. Would Aaron be sad if Raymond suddenly died, just assuming such a situation that something would happen to him? Aaron is a little wary of such a question. The war in the southern lands is over, and the political situation has stabilized. Why then the principal suddenly started talking about it? Does he really have a target for Pestle? Aaron thought that he was not interested in power, and then she still thought about the question. Will I be sad if Raymond suddenly dies? Aaron decided to answer honestly. She thinks she would even be happy about it. She has no interest in the Duke's life and even wastes time on such conversations. But Aaron doesn't want Calix to put himself in danger or for anything to stop her from doing what she's doing because she's fulfilling her long-time dream. Calix said that we protect her so that nothing happens to her and her dream. Aaron meant so that he would not get involved in dangerous adventures, but he answered her like this. It became a little awkward. Irina asked him to tell her about the dessert he had tried in southern families, because they had stopped right there. Calix said that it was not cream, but a fruit that grows in overseas countries. It is not found in the Empire, but these fruits can be transported over long distances. The name is unknown, but the prince was sure that if he saw it, he would immediately recognize it therefore. So he suggested to Aaron to go to the night market during the summer festival. She thought he actually knew the name, but now what, are we going to the festival with her? But in any case, she agreed to go with him to the night market, although she had already agreed with her friend. She decided that she could go with him another day. It wouldn't be a break of promise. Aaron said that we need to clean up the place and leave as soon as possible. We need to find another way to deliver the jasmine flowers. While she was putting the books in their places, she accidentally saw the title of one book, which was called The Culture and History of Tea. Aaron suddenly realized that she knew a person who had a lot of jasmine, and this emperor was introduced to love tea and always looking for some unusual herbs. Tea is brewed on Udinese jasmine, so the emperor was just in Ardion and probably brought a lot of different teas with him. Aaron decided to write to the elder with another emperor, asking him to give her some tea for a fee. Calix suggested that he deliver the letter personally, and that it would be much faster. He is always happy to help Aaron, so she said that if something happened to me, she should tell him first. Aaron felt a little awkward asking for this, and now she even remembered his youth. She couldn't even believe that he had become so grown up. But Calix actually always wanted to become such a person. He also just remembered the past. The next day was a day off at the café. Aaron hadn't woken up so late in a long time, but she was able to get a good rest. She only had to wait for the chief servant's answer about the jasmine flowers, and she herself was going to start making the dessert that the Countess had asked to make. Calix gave a hint that there was not cream inside, but fruits. But so far, they have no clue about them. Aaron was going to figure out where the heart would keep the floral scent of jasmine. A dessert in the form of a cake is definitely not suitable. I need a simpler and more ordinary dessert. It would be better to add jasmine to a light milk blancmange or pudding with whipped cream. She decided to start with the pudding, first boiling the milk and adding jasmine flowers. Then sugar whipped cream and mix it all well. Then put in the egg yolk and put it in a preheated oven. Ready pudding channel for an hour or two, and then finally tried what came out. More precisely, she didn't have time to try it because someone came. It was a girl. She brought the fruits that Aaron ordered. This is the same girl who once came with her sister for a birthday cake. It turned out that she was also dealing with shortages. Then they took the basket of fruit inside to the kitchen. Aaron was going to pay the girls while she was walking. I looked around, but I saw the pudding being made and thought they sold it here too. But Aaron said she just made it to try. This girl sees for the first time that We Will Be Gay did it ourselves. It was strange because usually at home we often cook. We will throw it. If the girl sees for the first time, then maybe she lost her parents at an early age. That's why she works herself. Aaron offered her to try, but the girl said that she didn't have any money with her today, so she refused. Aaron was developing a new name, so she would even be grateful if the girl tried it. And so they both sat down at the table and began to try. Aaron needed to taste every bit of the pudding. It smells a little like mine now, but there's only cream and milk. The flavors are too ordinary, so she didn't think it was a very good idea. The girls, meanwhile, tried the pudding, drizzled with caramel, and she said that it was very tasty. Everyone would definitely like such a dessert, but she didn't say anything about the floral scent. It was probably overpowered by the strong smell of caramel. Then she thought to try fruits instead of cream, and asked the girl if she sold fruits from the Southland. Dried fruits and nuts would also do. The girl said that she had fruits that she had never seen, but no one bought them, so most likely they were already in the trash. They were brown. Aaron got upset and started to cook again. Closer to the evening, Ains came to visit her. Apparently, his work was over. He brought a small snack with him because he thought his friend hadn't had lunch yet. Aaron really didn't eat anything this morning because she was busy with desserts. She just wanted to take the bag of food and lightly touched her friend's hand when something strange happened. Aaron felt a sharp pain, and she again began to see some hallucinations like they did last time in the store. She remembered that she had already seen something like this, also a dark forest. When she came to, she saw that Ains felt bad. Something hurt him too. He told Aaron with difficulty to get away from him. And after that, they threw him hard and he fell unconscious. Aaron was in a panic and didn't understand how all this happened. He had blood on his shoulder. Aaron thought that it was again no monster caused the attack. Then she took off his shirt and was shocked by what she saw. His condition had become much worse than it had been recently. He acted as if everything was fine. So why did his condition suddenly worsen? Aaron didn't have time to think about what had happened and needed to hide Ains right now. because if someone found out that he was poisoned by a monster, then people from the temple could come and sentence him to death. Irina's first action was to close the doors to the house and run back to her friend. Suddenly, his wound seemed to be alive, and like a parasite began to move to Erin's hand. She immediately jumped back and pulled her hand away. And then a bright light appeared in her eyes and everything was restored. The poison on his hand had completely disappeared. But how? Erin didn't understand what had happened, but she hoped that maybe the poison in Eins's body could disappear too. Then she noticed that something resembling a black haze appeared near the wound. It appeared as if from the light that emanated from her hand. Erin touched his hand and began to see some hallucinations again. This time the vision was different than before. She saw a black forest of a deer lying on the ground, and next to it there was a woman with silver hair who helped this animal. Erin thought that this introduction was constantly appearing before her, because I am a monster somehow connected with the northern secret forest. Then she remembered that the ingredients for the poison also come from the north, and these leaves that she bought could possibly help Ainsa. Erin wasn't sure, but there was no other way now, so she ran to the kitchen for her. But she didn't know at all how to use them, and saw that there was milk from the pudding left on the table. Then she decided to make a medicine. First, she crushed these leaves, and then mixed them with milk, so that it would not be so disgusting to drink. She did everything as quickly as she could and ran back to her friend. His condition was getting worse and worse. If he was left like this, he would really die. Erin tried to keep herself in check and not give in to panic, although her friend already looked like a dead man. She lifted his head and started pouring this medicine into his mouth. She prayed for it to work and just waited. Eins drank it all, but there was no reaction. Erin, in desperation, began to pray for her friend to recover and open his eyes. Then suddenly, his entire affected body part glowed with a divine bright light. But the beginning of this light came from Erin's hands, so she continued to hold her friend, although she didn't yet understand what was happening. There was so much bright light that Erin had to close her eyes to avoid being noticed. But when she opened them, she was shocked to see that all the wounds on Eins's body had completely disappeared. But there is no medicine against poison and monsters. Could those black leaves really be effective? But some strange pattern appeared in the right place. Erin touched his case and surprisingly, it did not hurt her. She did not have any. Erin was sure that all this was due to the leaves, but still, why did it appear? Today, the emperor came to the temple to the grave of her son, the former crown prince, and brought a bouquet of flowers. But I saw that there was already one bouquet on the grave. As it turned out, it was left by Prince Calix, who arrived this morning. The emperor placed his packet next to this one, and he was glad that Calix had done so. But then he asked the priest, did Raymond always have to today? And as it turned out, no. It was very sad that the son does not even remember the day of his father's death. The emperor asked the priest how he read. Did Raymond still have special qualities? The answer was positive. But honestly, the emperor started in this because Raymond is so stupid that he dared to kick Erin out. The emperor tried to apologize to him in any way, but he doesn't even want to listen. Apparently, Raymond thinks that he is being tortured here. It would be good to tell him everything, but the emperor cannot do this until Raymond has the qualities of an heir. The emperor came to the dining room, but saw that there were luxurious dishes on the table, although this should not be here. And suddenly, Serena appeared and greeted the emperor. It turned out that even the servants don't know anything about this. Why is she here? Serena heard that the emperor had skipped a meal to come to the temple, so she prepared a treat. Although she might not be enough for the election, she asked him to go there, prepared with all her heart. The emperor obviously didn't like this. He told the priest that this was a sacred place and that an unclean girl couldn't be allowed in here. Serena was offended that she was called unclean. Apparently, her relationship with Raymond defiled her. Serena asked directly why the emperors of the Stavnic Pores disliked her so much. Was it because of her low birth? In recent years, Serena tried with all her might to serve Prince Raymond. Serena asked the emperor to consent to the marriage and then promised that it would be even better than Erin trying to fulfill her duties and deal with palace affairs. But all this was nonsense. The emperor said that neither her origin nor her abilities mattered. She grew up in prosperity, but she herself wanted to become Raymond's mistress, and the whole world knows this fact, therefore such a woman cannot be made empress. Serena couldn't believe it. Couldn't she become Raymond's wife because she had been by his side all these years? The emperor did not answer this question and ordered the Shritsu to take this girl away from here and never let her in again. Serena begged him for at least one chance. Apparently, she had loved Prince Raymond since childhood, but why did the emperor choose Erin instead of her? The emperor said only that Serena could not lay claim to this place from the very beginning, so this idea must be abandoned. This is called the girl managed to eat the emperor already this short period of time, and he does not understand how Raymond can live with her all this time. The emperor raised him as a future heir to the throne since childhood, but Raymond always does nothing but disappoint. This concerns both his right of succession and his marriage. All this is a complete disappointment, but the emperor knows only one thing necessary to bring Aaron back. Although she said that she will never return to the palace, but Raymond needs Aaron, otherwise he will not become the ruler. Aaron, meanwhile, kept an eye on her friend. Ains had a nightmare. He tried to run as fast as possible so that it wouldn't catch him because he could die. But running was useless, as was resisting. Ains felt he had to ask for help, but from whom? After all, he would only cause trouble. It's better to just die and hate no one, he thought. But suddenly, when he had lost all hope, he heard a familiar voice and saw Aaron. Then he suddenly opened his eyes and realized that it was only at home and Aaron was sitting next to him. She exhaled when he woke up. After he passed out, Aaron and Melly dragged him into this room. No one found out the program, so there is no need to worry. And Aaron washed his shirt because it was covered in blood. Ains didn't want to give your friend so much trouble. You didn't sleep because of your debt to her. But Aaron was the main thing that he was okay now. She also thought that he was having a nightmare, so she tried to wake him up. But now he didn't feel anything at all, as if everything was fine. Then he decided to see what happened to his wound. I was surprised when I saw that it was early and no longer there, and on his shoulder there was some kind of sign. Aaron came and explained for a long time what actually happened. She said that the new black leaves after which she passed and a sign formed on the body. But why did his condition suddenly get so bad early? Ains himself doesn't know. He definitely remembers that she was healing, but it's not a fact that he felt bad. But now the sea is no more and it is early too. However, I have never heard or seen such a sign. Aaron invited her friend to stay. Naturally, for some time she was worried that he would have another attack. She has another free room, although it is a bit small, but there should be no inconvenience. Aaron is still worried because she gave her friend those leaves. Ains calmed her down without her help. I'll wash it off. Put the video, so he was very grateful to her. Now everything was fine. Of course, if his presence makes his girlfriend feel better, then he will stay for a short time. He himself did not notice the eyes already on his hand to calm down, and then apologized. The mark on the body does not cause any discomfort, and even some pleasant sensations appeared. Ains will go to the pharmacist and ask him about these leaves that he found in the north in the Black Forest. Ains was going to do this to make Aaron feel better about the truth about the black leaves. Ains is probably scared too, but he cares about Aaron first. He decided to go home for a short while and order his mother's servant to restore the greenhouse there so that he would find money here without arousing suspicion. Aaron saw him off, although she was still worried that something might happen to him. Unfortunately, she was never able to tell Ains something extremely suspicious. Then when I touched and left, but he also disappeared without a trace. Aaron didn't eat the black leaves or take any other drugs, so why didn't the poison work on her, and what was that bright light? Moreover, unlike Ains, no sign appeared on her body. Of course, these thoughts were unfounded, but Aaron began to suspect that she was the cause of this healing. The next day, Ains was already much better, but really completely fine, so Aaron could calmly return to work. But today, the house was somehow quiet. And in the kitchen, she found a note suddenly said that he was going to Baird Street to look for information there. And Melly and the kids might be making drinks, so Aaron started preparing desserts. Today, she decided to make scones and strawberry cream cake. She also had some chestnut paste left over from last time and decided to make Mont Blanc out of it. It's much easier to work with ready-made ingredients. Aaron would have spent a long time doing it herself. She mixed the chestnut paste with whipped cream and carefully placed it into the almond base and carefully decorated the top. She got so carried away with it that she made too many of them, so she decided to put some in the dessert cupboard to eat later. But she noticed that there were no more children left there. There were a lot of leftover desserts collected there. Then she decided to put them on the windowsill. And the main thing was to close the window so that the desserts would not all be these wild animals like last time on Prepare Dessert. And she went to the cafe to help and serve customers. There were a lot of them today, and because of that there was a delay in orders. Melly was busy with drinks and Aaron couldn't do anything on her own. But suddenly she had an assistant, whom she didn't even ask for help. It was Ains, who decided to work as a waiter. All the ladies started looking at him because of his handsome appearance and made even more orders. Aaron was grateful for his help, and after the first half of the day, she told him to rest his early healed quite recently. Ains thought that I was completely out of it because he didn't feel any pain at all and there weren't even any marks left. He met a pharmacist, but the man said that he appeared in the north but nothing is known about the person who made them or about the leaves themselves. Erin would like to go north herself, but it's too far. Ian's while she is sick, so I decided to look for a book about it I myself in the academy. While he was away, Erin and Melly were finishing up the workday together. Today was really very difficult. Melly almost went crazy from the number of orders. Erin suggested closing a little early today since no one was there, but she was out of luck because their regular customer came in. It was obvious how she was in a hurry to not be late. Lady Fiona did not come alone today and called her mother. This is a sweet old lady who came to the capital for a short visit, and she loves sweets, so Fiona decided to bring her here before leaving. Erin looked at the sweet old lady and said hello to her, but then suddenly she saw some strange fog as if coming from the body of this woman. Yanes had something similar on his shoulder. Erin hoped that this woman was not infected with the monstrous poison. She made them drinks for free at the house's expense and was going to watch this woman. The fog was not as thick as Ains's. Its color was not black, but dark purple. If it is not poison, then what is it? Up close, it was clear that Madame's face seemed a little pale and tired. Erin thought that maybe it was some kind of illness, and she decided to ask the woman if she was feeling okay. Fiona began to worry that her mother was not feeling well, but the woman said that everything was fine today, but she couldn't hide her state of health. She said that in her youth she worked as a master in manufacturing under his cosmetic shop. Since then, many different carcinogens have accumulated in her body. In the past, Soviet ladies used powder with a high concentration of lead. For this reason, women everywhere suffered from lead poisoning more than 100 years later. Some time later, lead was replaced by other elements. However, those who do not have money for organic products still use lead powders and suffer from side effects. Then the girl found out that her body had recovered, but lately she had no strength at all. She thought it was because of her age. Now she's on holiday in a village where the air is very clean, and her daughter wanted different desserts because her mother had not been to the capital for a long time. Erin decided to give them a piece of every dessert on the menu. But Mont Blanc was over, so she decided to go to the kitchen and get the cakes she had put aside. Until she found it. She thought about it for a long time. A thought that only she sees. It would be good to remove it from the body. Madame started trying all these amazing desserts, and she seemed to feel better just because of them. Erin didn't know how to help this woman to make her happy that Madame liked the sweets. That, however, then. She noticed slight changes. The more this woman ate desserts, the stronger. This fog gradually disappeared. Erin didn't understand how the wind worked at all. She didn't even use black leaves, and there was no light at the moment the poison disappeared. Madame ate a simple dessert, but it cleared the fog a little. When Ines returned, she decided to tell him about this fog and her suspicions that it was all because of zeal. But the most interesting thing is that it disappeared as she ate sweets. The only thing is that in preparing Mont Blanc, she used chestnut paste that she bought at the gallery. Maybe that was the problem? Ines suggested that the reasons might be different. He studied several books on the Black Forest in the library, but found nothing to read, and the pharmacist said that only dry leaves are not enough to create a medicine. There is a possibility that Erin, or rather her abilities, influenced the detoxification. Now she didn't even know what to say. Calix decided to come visit and, as if nothing had happened, asked how Erin was doing. He came so suddenly because he was attacked by some training, and after these words he looked at the night. Erin thought he found out about Ains's wound, but no one else but the two of them could see it then. Calix was talking about something else, but now because of anxiety because someone is coming here today. Erin walked outside and saw a fancy carriage, and in front of the café stood the Emperor, whom she had not seen for so long. She invited him to a café and gave him dessert. Melly was very nervous in front of the Emperor so as not to make a mistake, and it is understandable because the Emperor came too suddenly. Erin sat across from him, waiting for him to tell her what had happened and what he wanted to talk about. But the Emperor remained silent until that moment when he tried the magnificent dessert. He knew that Erin had a talent for cooking, but he never expected that after leaving the palace she would open her own. Anyway, he is glad that she is doing well. Today he arrived with the senior servant who informed the Emperor about Erin's request. The Emperor came here and brought with him a whole box of jasmine flowers. Erin was very happy and grateful. It even turned out that there were too many of them, but the Emperor said to consider it a gift. Calix, you have already entered the café and greeted your grandfather. He doesn't even appear in the palace. And now, when the Emperor arrived, he immediately came here. Calix said that he had been very busy, but now he was free and asked Erin for some tea too. She told him to find Melly, but Calix wanted to have tea with his grandfather and Erin, so he sat down at the table with them. Grandfather was outraged that Calix called his brother's husband by his name. Erin said that she asked him about it herself because she is no longer the wife of Duke Raymond. The Emperor sighed heavily. He had married Erin and Raymond because he thought she would make a great empress, but now he was sorry that things had turned out this way. But he still got hope and asked Erin to return to the palace. She certainly appreciates what the Emperor has done for her family, but she would like to repay the debt in some other way, and she asked not to talk about returning to the court anymore. Because the Emperor can simply order Erin, but she simply does not want to return to that life. Besides, there is a fairly trusting relationship between the Emperor and Erin. The Emperor remembers Erin was always so obedient, I am responsible, but she has changed a lot. If the Emperor acted on his own free will, you would have already forgotten her back to the palace. Calix told Erin not to worry because her grandfather is an understanding person and he will go against her will. The Emperor silently watched his grandson and could not even imagine that Calix would be watching him. Life is very unpredictable. The Emperor promised never to raise this topic again and asked Erin not to consider her family's help. New Year's, she had been performing videos for this for years. He decided it was time to leave. Erin was very glad that he was on the network, this modest cafe, and saw him off. The Emperor was about to leave, but he told his grandson to also go out for a while. Grandpa wanted to talk about the fact that Calix had been seeing Erin a lot lately. He told his grandson that it was better to leave her alone because she had clearly said that she did not want to come back, and his visit could eventually give rise to unwanted rumors. Calix told Grandpa that Erin almost died recently because someone sent her to the dealer. I thank God she only wants it because Calix was there. Something like this can happen again, so he is always wary. The Emperor was shocked. Despite the divorce, Erin still belongs to the aristocracy, so who dared attack her? And then the Emperor realized that this was precisely why Calix was spending so much time with Erin and had also been watching his older brother lately. Calix just wants Erin to always be safe. He doesn't shine on anyone who would dare to harm her, even if her older brother did it. Grandpa didn't expect to hear this from Calix. Despite his outstanding intelligence, he had no power, so he believed that there would be no hostility between him and his brother. But it seems he still can't forget Erin and Grandfather. She understood his feelings, but it seemed to him that Erin herself did not consider him special. Calix didn't care. He didn't want anything in return. He would protect Erin until he lost sight of her. Grandfather was amazed by such an answer, and I don't remember that Calix is the owner of the feud of Leuthen, and because of this, he can't constantly be in the capital. He himself knows this very well, which is very sad. 9 years ago, the Emperor's palace. Calix came to work as usual to his daughter-in-law. The chef came up with new desserts and asked to bring the cakes here to try with Erin. And since Calix had already called the servants, Erin could not refuse. Calix wanted to please Erin. From the outside, she looked gloomy and pale, so he decided that he would become her best light. For this, it was enough for happiness. So why now? It hurts Calix so much to see that very smile he always dreamed of. For a second, Erin thought she saw Calix standing outside the window. But Ein said it was impossible because he had gone home with the Emperor. Erin decided to go out anyway and quickly check what was going on in the yard. And she was not mistaken. There really was Calix. She was surprised because he had to leave with the Emperor. He said he didn't leave because he wanted to spend more time with her. Erin, why didn't he come back then? Calix saw that she had another guest, so he didn't want to disturb her. Erin said that her friend would stay here for a while. She decided to let him stay with her while Lemon was being brought to his mansion, since this is the outskirts of the capital and no one knows Ain's here. Calix realized that they were close, and Erin even told me that they were friends with me in childhood and even cooked something for each other for every birthday. But then she saw how unusually sad Calix's face was and began to worry about what had happened. Had he really quarreled with the Emperor? Sometimes the mind is filled with different thoughts. Calix, I wish I knew Erin since childhood. Wanted her to marry him, not her brother. If they were in a completely different relationship, could he confess his feelings? Calix decided to put one thing on and say that he really liked it. But he didn't have time to finish this because suddenly something thundered in the house. Calix went to check because it could be dangerous, but Erin decided to go along. When they entered the kitchen, they saw nothing like that, and at that very moment, Ainz ran into the kitchen because he also heard a crash. He didn't expect to see a princess here, but he calmed down because he was definitely safe. They quickly found the source of the noise. A plate that Mont Blanc was lying on had broken. If you look at the slightly open window, it means that someone has invaded here. Ainz went to check the territory. And Erin looked at the kitchen. Everything seemed to be in order, but still, Something disappeared. That dessert that was on the plate. Where did it go? Usually the sea always leaves traces, but there was nothing there. Most likely it was some kind of wild animal. But Erin reminded that she closed the window and specifically checked everything so that something like this wouldn't happen because it was already morning. Calix said that if this had already happened, then they might not be dealing with a simple pine forest, and perhaps it has some other purpose. Erin wondered if it was Selena 5 who was trying to take her life and started to worry. Calix took her hands to calm her down and said that he would stop guarding her as a security measure. Erin was grateful for the offer, but refused because Ainz would be with her for a while. After all, he was the commander of the Knightly Order. Calix certainly didn't doubt his powers, but he still wanted Erin to accept his request. The guards would sit in the shadows and definitely wouldn't get into any trouble. He was so worried that he started begging Erin to agree to this security she wouldn't even notice them. And yet with his sweet face he was able to her, he says, but only to one guard. Said that he would send a man tomorrow morning and finally went home. And the next day this guy sent and introduced himself as Peter. At first, Erin felt a little discomfort, but gradually got used to it because the guard really remained in the shadows all the time, so it even felt like he wasn't there. Then a week passed and the money of the county of Ainz arrived. Fortunately, during this time there were no incidents and now he was completely healthy. Erin ultimately couldn't figure out the cause of the toxicity anywhere, and she's not sure she helped at all, but everything is fine with her friend, thanks to her. That then in the palace, and now she learned the risks but still helped. And all he did was cause her problems. But Erin just needs help leading best friends. So he quickly packed his things and finally left. He was very happy to stay here. Erin remembered that the night fair was opening tomorrow and reminded them that they wanted to go there together. But she couldn't forget her promise. Ainz said to come when the cafe was already closing and they would go for a walk together. And after the walk, he really wanted to tell her something important. And the next day the summer festival began. It was already night, but everything was shining so brightly. As was said, there were many sellers with unusual goods. There were a lot of people at the fair, so it was fun. Compared to what it was before, street trading has flourished greatly. After all, there are so many imported goods here. Years have passed. Ainz showed Erin the cotton candy that we never finished together. So many years have passed, and she already misses it. As children, they barely had enough change for one cotton candy, but it was very tasty. And then they promised that they would each eat one cotton candy separately when they grew up. Now they had enough money to buy it. But Erin no longer had the same delight from this sweetness as before because it tasted like only sugar. But still, they ate this cotton wool and continued to walk. There were a lot of entertainments and competitions at the fair. Of course, Ainz, with his skills, did not take first place on purpose. He hit 5 daggers in the very center. It was incredible and he won a toy for Erin. Now she has a cute stuffed bunny. And Ainz still said that he was just lucky to win. Then they came to the counter with the talisman structures and Erin. I wanted to give him a gift. Ainz chose the one he liked the most, and Erin bought it for 5 silver coins. But then she chose another one and asked to pack them separately. She decided to give it to Mr. Calix. He had been helping her a lot lately, so she thought she should give him to them. Ainz was noticeably upset when Erin showed how close she was in principle, but it was not surprising because he very often looks into the cafe. Erin didn't think they were that close. It's just that the prince is very sociable in himself and probably comes to her just out of boredom. But Ainz was not so sure about it. However, he did not say anything. But Calix helped Erin out so often that she really stayed with him. When he is around her, her soul becomes somehow light and calm. Ainz forced a smile and said that he was glad Erin had such a person. When they reached the very end of the fair, Erin suggested going back. But Ainz wanted to tell her something. He had warned her about it yesterday. He began his conversation with the promise he had given her upon his arrival with the Northern Expedition. He wanted to explain Erin's divorce and prove that she hadn't cheated. They agreed that he would tell everyone about it only when he was cured. But after that, his life continued as usual. He worked and saw Erin from time to time. But every time he saw her being attacked, his heart sank with pain and anger. He was not satisfied with how grateful he was to Erin, and since he was now completely healthy, he would like to see the Emperor and explain this situation. They decided to go back to the cafe and continue the conversation. Ainz really wanted to tell the Emperor everything. That would be right, but Erin tried to dissuade him from doing it anyway. Everything was already over, and even though his wounds had not healed, he would not be able to avoid punishment for hiding the truth. Moreover, because of the unknown symbol above Ainz's scar, they can take him to the temple for study, but he is ready for it. Even if he was taken to the temple and he promised that Erin would not suffer harm, But she was not worried about that. In fact, she wasn't serious when she suggested revealing the truth after she recovered because she thought that would make herself change her mind. She is glad that the divorce did not prevent her from opening a cafe, and people here do not know, so there are no rumors or anything else. Erin is ready to continue living like this. She does not want to suddenly return to old thoughts. But after Erin was subjected to complex accusations, Eins's anxiety did not leave him for a second. Now there was a chance to restore her reputation, so he thought that he could not delay any longer. And even if she is happy with her current life, one day a person may appear who wants to walk hand in hand with her. Eins simply does not want the past to block Erin's path in the future. Erin tried to calm him down. She had a lot of work to do because of one cafe, so she wasn't going to even think about anyone. But suddenly asked her to think about it herself last year. She could not even imagine that she would open her own cafe after leaving the palace. This means that everything in life happens, and Ains, I would like for her to miss out on many opportunities that are given to her because of this. Erin understood all this, of course, but she wanted to keep the life she had now, especially since in this life there are Ains and Calix. So she again asked him to leave the past in the past. Ains asked, but Erin is really too kind. The conversation ended on a positive note. Erin didn't expect that she was still thinking about what happened. It seemed like they had both forgotten about everything, but it was good that they had discussed it. From that moment on, Erin began to think about a man who would want to walk hand in hand with her. Before she wanted to love, but now she is not sure. And it is all about that failed union on which she spent so many years of her life. Now Erin provides for herself, you live well. That's why you stopped thinking about marriage. She has so much work she needs to think about, and tomorrow's menu and the dessert recipe that she promised the Countess are not ready yet. So she must definitely find the fruits that Calix mentioned at the night market. By the way, how is the Archduke? Erin hasn't seen him for a week now. For some reason, when she thinks about him, strange feelings appear and she wants everything to be good for him. The next day, the Archduchy of Ruthen. Very unexpected guests showed up there. Calix didn't even think that this guy would want to meet him in person. Eins came so early in the morning to tell the Archduke something. He talked about the rumors about Erin that were going around in the capital. This, of course, interested Calix. Eins told the story of how Erin helped him when he was infected with a poisonous monster, and in reality, there was no romantic relationship between them. But now it is too early for people completely, and here even Calix was surprised. Children, that poison is extremely difficult to neutralize. Eins himself doesn't know how it happened. But there is a suggestion that the leaves brought from the Black Forest could have helped. In fact, he thought that it was Erin's ability, but decided to keep quiet about it. Calix hadn't heard anything unusual about that forest, so it was hard to believe. However, he couldn't just wave his hand at everything that was said. Erin hid the truth out of concern for her friend's safety, but Calix, as a member of the ruling family, has his own position, and he cannot turn a blind eye to the fact that the commander of the Sacred Sword Detachment, which is supposed to protect the Empire, deceived the Emperor and the Temple. Calix had heard that Ains had to go through a lot to get this position. So would he be able to live with the loss of status and reputation? Ains said that she knows what she's getting into and is ready to receive the punishment that the prince considers fair. Erin, of course, tried to dissuade him from this, but despite the fact that she holds a different opinion, Eins believes that it will be better for her first and foremost. Calix suddenly decided to ask more questions of this guy, who had recently been at war in the southern regions. If you think about everything that was said, it turns out that sending him on a military expedition was unfair. Of course, the closure of the palace is true. It is supposed to be punished accordingly. But Eins has already answered for her actions by performing feats in his dangerous battle. In other words, you can't torture a person who has already been punished. Calix said he would try to close the case. Speaking of his already fat position of the temple, most of the infected suffered serious injuries during the battles for the Empire, and Calix consider it unfair that they are taken for sinners. Especially, I didn't want to lose such a talented person as Eins, who had already achieved the position of head of the knightly order. He was of course grateful for the generosity, but still wanted to sort out the rumors and those related to Erin. Calix didn't worry about it. He thought he already had some, and he promised that none of them would get hurt. Eins thanked the Archduke warmly and decided to leave. But Calix still had one question that kept him going throughout the conversation. Why did the commander choose him to reveal the truth? After all, if he wanted to receive a fair punishment, he could have gone to the Emperor and told him everything. But why did he choose the Archduke? They weren't even friends and he hardly knew what he would do. In fact, there was only one reason why Eins made such a choice, because Erin trusts Calix the most. That evening, when the coma was already closed, Aaron and Melly were just finishing cleaning. All that was left was to close the doors and windows. But when Irina was about to close the door, Calix came to her. They hadn't seen each other for so long. Of course, he asked her what she wanted. Aaron was a little surprised that he came so late. She would have offered him tea, but she had already cleaned everything. Calix came specifically at closing time because he remembered that they hadn't decided on a date for me to go to the market, and besides, she probably needed to find everything she needed for cooking as soon as possible. If the cafe is already closed, he suggested going to the market right now, and Aaron agreed. And then she asked, what would he do if she couldn't go? Calix would arrange another time. He apologized for not telling her about it beforehand and attacked her with his cute face again. They finally found the fruit stalls and started approaching the vendors. But when they said that the fruit was still brown, they thought that it was spoiled. And when they said that I needed a very sweet fruit, I showed them something completely different from what they needed. These sellers didn't sell such exotic fruits at all. So they went around all the fruit paws and didn't find any fruit. Calix was also upset. I thought that everything that was needed would work out, but they didn't find anything. But it was still fun just to walk around. At first, Aaron thought that Calix just wanted to spend time with her and the fruits were just a cover. But now it was clear how upset he was that they couldn't find what they came here for. He was really worried. Aaron reassured him, saying that she would replace it with something else. She had already come up with an alternative just for such a case. While they were discussing this, suddenly fireworks started and all the people started crowding where they could see better. Aaron didn't want to leave, so she suggested to Calix that they watch the fireworks together. Before this, she had only watched the fireworks from the windows of the palace, but from here it was much more beautiful. These bright flashes of light were very understanding of the mood, and Aaron remembered that she had a gift for Calix. She was very touched by his help, so she wanted to thank him. These were cufflinks. She tried to choose those that would be redness, but they don't know how much he guessed with the choice. Calix was very happy and said that he liked them very much. She guessed them completely. Besides, it was nice that this was the first gift she gave him, and he promised to wear them carefully. Aaron didn't expect him to be so happy. Calix was usually the type of person who hid his true feelings behind a smile, but this was the first time she had seen such sincere emotions in him. The last time they saw each other, he looked kind of tense, like he wanted to say something important. Then she decided to ask him about it. What did he want to say last time when they were interrupted? A week ago, when Calix returned home a day before, he immediately assigned Peter to guard Aaron around the clock. And this also had to be done secretly so that she would not feel childish. At that moment when Calix was in her yard, and he actually dreamed of something about her and his feelings. It's good that they were interrupted because he was afraid everything would get complicated if he did this. The fact that Aaron's smile alone was enough for him to be happy was a lie, and right away. And he dreamed of her smiling at him, and he was happy. But I'm not sure that she feels the same way only towards him. That's why he can't confess. He said that she should forget about what happened because it didn't matter, and at that moment a big firework was launched. Aaron never found out what Calix wanted to tell her that day and why he looked so serious. All this unspokenness only makes her nervous. But she's afraid that if she starts putting pressure on Calix, the relationship will burst like a bubble. That's why she didn't ask him anything if he didn't want to. When it was all over, they decided to go back home. And on the way to this festival, namely on the road, they came across a girl from a fruit shop. She immediately recognized Aaron, who sold them a delicious cake. This girl was immediately taken in by Calix's handsome face as soon as he lay down on his Aaron asked the girl where her older sister was. Were they walking together? But it turned out that the sister had gone out for fruit drinks and was already looking for the younger one. Calix looked towards the second girl, very surprised, and then happily told Aaron that he had found it. He found the very southern fruit that the Countess had spoken about. I had to look at the fruit drink. That's exactly where the drink was. It's a good thing they found it. Time flew by unnoticed. It was Countess Florence's birthday. Aaron brought a lot of things with her. The servants sorted out the food, and Aaron was politely escorted along where she was met by the Countess. She recently returned from a trip and had a great time. Now she went out especially to meet Aaron because she was really looking forward to her today, and she led her to the rest of the guests. Aaron was surprised because it all looked more like a birthday party for his close-knit family than a holiday for us. Aaron was worried that when they introduced their overly exotic dessert, people wouldn't like it. But in such a calm atmosphere, they didn't need to be a problem. However, Aaron is difficult to familiar nasty voice. It's Mrs. Brannan who was the head maid, and she was also invited name already. She began to laugh loudly and openly humiliate Aaron. Say that he eats and there is no deprivation left and such a woman sells cakes. The Countess immediately apologized and invited Aaron to move on. In private, she apologized and said that, according to the family tree, that woman was her husband's aunt. She was always absent from the birthday party, but this year she unexpectedly showed up. Aaron expected that perhaps Mrs. Brannan had come to quarrel, but that was no problem. Aaron said she wanted to present her dessert now. Then they, together, attracted everyone's attention, said something nice for the guests, and she introduced Aaron, whom she invited and asked to prepare a special dessert. In the decanter and the cell itself, it is curious what it is. That is why she finally wanted to look. And everyone was very surprised by what they saw. It looked like an unusual pudding. Aaron handed one heist a serving so she could try the dessert first. The Countess was amazed by the taste. She immediately felt the smell of pork which came from the delicate cream with a learned taste, and the elastic iron is taken away by the aroma. This is really the same taste from her memories. It was amazing. She had been looking for the right ingredients for a long time, but couldn't find them. Now she finally asked what this cream was made of. Aaron assumed that those who were not interested, so she brought the ingredients themselves. This wonderful cream is made from fruits will be called coconut. Despite the fact that the outer part is hard, but the inner part is watery and has a unique taste and fresh pulp. You can also make a drink from this fruit or make cookies with the juice squeezed from the pulp of this fruit. And if you boil the pulp and achieve a creamy consistency, in addition to serving it as it is now, you can also make a cake similar to this one. Everyone was surprised this cake is so unusual and looks like a sea. Seeing this cake, the Countess plunged into her memories. This exactly conveyed the picture we saw on the South Coast. The Countess didn't order this cake, but Aaron couldn't come to the birthday party without a cake, so she prepared one separately. The Countess was so delighted that she even burst into tears, plunging into pleasant memories. Aaron was very pleased with this reaction and began to present the cake. Cream made from fruit, the whole product acquired a unique taste. This is a southern fruit that was difficult to get in the Empire. Everyone started wondering how Aaron found all this and was able to cook it so deliciously. Miss Brennan came and said dissatisfiedly that all this was too suspicious. Ardion was an enemy of the Empire, and how could Aaron feed people here food that contained fruit from enemy families? It was outrageous. The woman was obviously going to make a scandal.